All right, here we go. The triumphant return of Freeway Ricky Ross. Welcome back.
What up, man?
It's been a minute.
I thought you forgot about me.
Man, I can never forget about you.
Yeah.
I can never forget about you.
All right.
We've been trying to make it happen. There's been some cancellations along the way.
Well, you know, my schedule, your schedule.
Yeah.
You know, I've been flying a lot, so I understand, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, I went through a lot to make that first one. I drove 200 miles to another airport that could get me there, and somehow the communication got messed up. I got here in time to make it, 6 in the morning or something like that there, and then it was like, they canceled. I was like, what? They canceled. So, but, you know, I always look at our interviews as special. You know, the word coming from your platform is tremendous. And me being in the street, you wouldn't believe how many people come up to me and say, man, I saw you on Vlad. Thank you for that message that you gave. And you got me in trouble too, man.
I got you in trouble. How's
With
that?
Harry O.
With Harry O?
Yeah. Man.
Okay. I actually spoke to Harry O at one point.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, he didn't like our interview.
Really?
And, yeah. And I'm going to apologize to him today. Harry, I never should have mentioned your name in no interview without asking your permission. Hope you forgive me. And I really, really look forward to working with you, man. One of my ambitions was when you got home was for us to connect and work together. I hope you do. Otherwise, we're going to have the city divided again. Let's get together, man.
Okay. Did you say something? I don't remember you said anything negative about Harry O. Did you?
I don't know, but he didn't. I mean, you know, we said some stuff. We talked about his brother and his mom a little bit, I think. But anyway, he wasn't happy with it, and I didn't know. You know, I got a call one day, and me and him was able to talk for the first time, not knowing we was gonna be on the phone together. Like I'm asleep, and I get a random call, and I pick it up, and it's my boy, and I hit it, and on the picture was Harry O. So, you know, it was like, wow. And I was kind of taken aback at first because I don't know what to say, you know, because I done heard through the streets, you know, that he wasn't happy with the interview. So anyway, we good though, you know, we talked on the phone and I really was hoping that I would get to work with Harry when he got home because as I know I said in that interview, he helped me a lot when I got to prison, you know. Showed me the ropes, told me how to talk, you know, how to move around, and also helped me with my reading. You know, he was the one who helped me with my reading as well. So, and I know he's brilliant. He's gonna do well. And you know, it was just somebody that I was hoping that I would have had the opportunity to associate with on the streets because we never worked together on the streets.
Yeah, I remember Harry O was upset over an interview I did with Boosie, I think, and Lil D from Oakland put us on the phone together, and we just talked it out. And, you know, I'd explained to him that, like, look, you're a public figure, whether you want to be one or not. And people are going to say their opinions about you, and sometimes they'll be factual, sometimes they won't be, but ultimately you have the chance to respond if you want to. But, you know, when you're in the public, which ultimately he is right now because of his story and his connection to death row and everything else like that, people are going to have statements about you. It just is what it is. This is the world that you've walked into in, you know, what is it? You got out 2021, I think. And it just is what it is. And, you know, he understood and we had a good conversation. And, you know, we talked about doing an interview at some point. It may or may not happen. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to say that, man, you know, let him know that. That's my feelings. Yep. I didn't mean to go there, but I thought that it was appropriate that I did that today, man.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Set the record right.
Well, let's talk about what's happening right now. And the biggest thing is Kanye. Made various comments. To me, the most atrocious of which was the George Floyd comments. When he said that George Floyd didn't actually die from a knee on his neck. The cop's knee wasn't really on his neck, that he died from a fentanyl overdose.
Yeah.
Which I'm assuming, even though I refused to watch it, I'm assuming it was from the Candace Owens documentary. that he had recently watched.
Yeah, I heard that too. I never watched it either. Yeah. Kanye West, man. Huh. You know, I might catch some slack for saying this, but I talk to my people, black people in the streets all the time, man. And I ask them, why do we allow the people with the loudest horn to be giving out information? Because just because you got a loud horn don't mean the stuff that you're saying has any value. With me, Kanye West has absolutely no value. He a flip-flop, when he was saying about the George Floyd stuff and slavery was voluntarily, nobody said nothing. But as soon as he said something about them Jews, they let everybody know the real. So I've been telling my people he didn't have no $6 billion from the beginning. I knew the man ain't made no $6 billion, in 3 years, almost impossible. So I already knew that. But now, since he went after a certain race of people who has power, they cut him off. So now he's cutting off. Now he's running back to his roots and asking them, oh, yeah, I wore a White Lives Matter shirt. And, yeah, I didn't support the movements. I don't support no black movements, almost like O.J. Simpson. Like when you need us, you come to us. But when we need you, it's White Lives Matter too. It's like, oh no, they didn't have no knee in George Floyd's back. Everybody saw that. Anybody who didn't see that is retarded.
Yeah.
If you didn't see that, if you didn't hear that man, I don't care if he was begging for his girlfriend, saying, mama, mama, mama. The man was saying he need help from somebody. Ain't nobody else helping me. See, I don't know if I could be standing there. I don't know. I know I would have went to jail that day without question. No way I could have sit there and watched them squeeze the life out of a man right there in front of us. And then you question that? If he didn't have it in his neck, he had it somewhere it wasn't supposed to be. And at some point, you come to your senses and you say, you know what? Give him a break. The man begged for mercy. We all heard him begging for mercy. When he was asking for his mama, he was begging for mercy. And the guy who had his knee there had none. And for Kanye West to back that guy and then come running back to me, asking me to support him now, because they say he owed 45 million. So the next thing finna happen, they finna take all the cars, all the houses, jewelry, everything he got finna be gone. And he know it. And that's why he's coming back to his roots, saying, hey, y'all back me. Me, I'm not doing it.
Well, he said that now he knows how it feels to have a knee on his neck by the way that Adidas is treating him.
It's not the same.
Right. Well, because he has his life.
You can't compare.
Unlike George Floyd.
You can't compare that. I mean, even to compare the two.
Yeah.
To compare the two, because I lose all my money. If I had to go out there and sleep in a car, if I had to go downtown and get up under one of the cardboard boxes, that ain't the same as having somebody squeeze the life out of you when you begging for your mama. Yeah. You pleading for your life. That ain't the same, man. Come on. Anybody, you can make some more money. You started out broke.
Yeah.
Do it over again.
Right. And then he posted a picture of Emmett Till and then compared himself to the way he's been treated to Emmett Till. And for those that don't know, Emmett Till was murdered by a group of white men over allegedly whistling at a white woman, which she then said never even happened. And they beat his face so badly. And yet his mother insisted on having Emmett in that casket open so the media can come take pictures of her child. That was honestly, you can't even tell that's a human anymore. He looks so bad. And to say that this is what's happening to me, I feel it's a disconnect from reality. Honestly.
Absolutely.
It's a complete disconnect.
You don't know the
from
people
reality.
out here really suffering, man. They don't know people really suffering out here. You know, they got real issues. You know, homelessness is at an all-time high. It's people that can't get gasoline. People who can't get milk because it's too high. It's real problems out here, man. You know, it's people out here that got real issues. And those are not real issues. But he got a loud horn, so people keep hearing it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because he's still a millionaire. He still lives in houses. He still flies private. It's strange how you go from, like, you're the aggressor. You put yourself in this situation. Your mouth got you into this. You know, like, for example, now he's complaining that George Floyd's daughter's mother is suing him for $250 million. And he's insulting her and saying, I gave you $2 million and you got an ugly hat and you're being controlled or you're greedy. You know, Steven Jackson was like, this woman was minding her own business. You're the one that decided to go run off at the mouth and start coming up with this George Floyd nonsense. And now you're paying the price and now you're the victim once again.
Man, it's crazy. But they're going to keep listening to him.
Yeah, he's got a loud horn.
Me, I don't even want to hear about it no more. Like, Kanye West, get that out of here. Nonsense. Flipping and flopping, 1 minute you this, 1 minute you that. You know, it's like, nah. Done with him.
Well, used to live in South Central.
Yep.
And that's where PnB Rock got killed.
Right down the street from my place. I go past that Roscoe's probably 2 times a week.
You been there before?
Long time ago. You know, I'm vegan. So,
got it. Yeah. They don't have a lot of vegan options.
No, they don't have a lot of vegan options. So I don't eat that much. But I meet people there from time to time. You know, my friends come from out of town and they do visit that one.
Now, I've been to many Roscoe's. Well, not too many. I've been to 2 Roscoe's. I've been to the one in Hollywood, which is in a nice residential area. I also been to the one in Inglewood, which is right by the freeway. I've passed by there before, but I've never stopped and actually eaten there. I just felt with who I am, things might get a little dicey if I start getting recognized and so forth. I might go and grab some, you know, maybe a to-go plate, but I'm not going to sit there and lounge and so forth. So when you look at the PnB Rock situation, he pulled up in a nice car, wearing some jewelry and so forth, and the worst possible situation happened. Being from that area and still living in that area, does that type of situation surprise you at all?
No.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Why is that?
I mean, what that Roscoe's is really in the middle of 3 gangs.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, you got the Hoover Crips, you got the 8-7 gangsters. 8-7 gangsters known for robbing. So, you know, if they would have saw him, they'd have been on him. Then you got the Main Streets, and you got the Swans. All of those gangs are right there, and you know, they kind of mingle together. And then I don't even know the Hispanic gangs are there, because, you know, now, you know, Hispanics are there as well. So I'm sure some Hispanic gangs there as well. I don't know what they are though. But it's just not an environment for somebody that's not from around there, who don't know his way around. Not healthy.
Right. From what I understand the situation, you know, a lot of people were saying, oh, it's because of an Instagram post and so forth.
No.
Which is, I mean, listen.
Not necessarily.
Number one, I'm glad that actually got out there, because that's something I've been aware of for a very long time. I don't let people, you know, if I'm in a social setting, you know, with just me and somebody else, I don't let them Instagram where we are or so forth. If we take pictures together, those pictures will be posted after I leave a location.
Right.
I'm not sitting there letting the world know where I am at any particular moment, whether I have security or not, because why add that extra potential for problems in the process?
Makes sense.
So I'm glad that got out there. But ultimately, that was not the reason why he died. The shooter, who was 17 years old, and his father, were apparently in the parking lot and watched him come in. And the 17-year-old just took it as an opportunity to come in. And I mean, I don't think the intention was to kill this man. I think the intention was to rob him, but he started to resist to a certain degree, and he ended up shooting him dead, pointing the gun at his baby mother, running off with a bunch of jewelry. His dad was the getaway driver. And now the 17-year-old has been arrested. The father was arrested. The stepmother was arrested as well for whatever reason. I don't know whether she was, an accessory after the fact or whatever. So this whole family is now wiped out, is probably going to be in prison for possibly the rest of their life. Definitely the shooter. It's just a very, very messed up situation. I mean, you yourself growing up during the 80s and the craziness that went in, I mean, did you see these types of robberies occur around you?
Well, when we was growing up, what they used to rob over mostly was wheels, big hubs.
Cars.
Yeah, and Dayton's. When Dayton's came out, they was robbing over Dayton's and Zenas. And there were a few people, not a whole lot, but there was a few people who got killed in carjackings. Mm. These were before it was a word, carjacking. But yeah, there were people who got killed, and I saw people at the street races snatched out their car at gunpoint and taking their car. So kind of, but not to the extent that I think it is right now. With social media being more direct and everybody being so much more visible. When we was coming up, it was only a few guys that wore the big gold chains and so forth that would have, hundreds of thousands of dollars on their neck. So it was a little different time, I could imagine, though, if word would have got out back then in the streets that it was a guy on Main Street in Manchester and he had $500,000, I could imagine that it would probably be quite a few people that would be interested in going up there seeing him.
Okay, so the guys in the 80s that wore the big jewelry. Now, you were never one of those guys. No. You were the guy that looked like a regular pedestrian, pretty much. Yeah, you'd be around the guys with the jewelry, but you look like one of the workers, essentially.
Yeah, I want to be a civilian.
Yeah, you wanted to be the civilian. So that was never you, but the people that worked for you, some of them had the big jewelry, I'm assuming.
Yeah, they did.
Okay. For them to go out with that type of jewelry during that time, do they usually have a set of bodyguards with them?
Yeah. Plus, everybody know each other, and we all was each other's bodyguards. Everybody's probably carrying their pistols, and that's my homie. So and then you don't have no who say as a bodyguard, but you got guys with you that's packing. So yeah, so it's protection.
Okay, you've never seen anyone try to grab a chain or try to?
Nah.
Because everyone knew who you guys were and they knew the repercussions of doing something like that.
Right.
Yeah. And the sad part about it is that I'm sure that this teenager was looking at these chains and thinking that his life is going to change once he gets them in his hand. But if you think about it, you got a bunch of stolen chains from a high-profile person. You can't go down to a regular jeweler and sell it. So you got to go to one of these jewelers that are willing to take stolen property, which means they'll give you maybe 10, 20 cents off the dollar if you're lucky?
They probably would have just about gave that stuff away, They don't be, a lot of guys who commit crimes, what I'm finding out now, especially with these new age criminals, is that they don't think their situation's out. They can't map out what's going to happen next year or a year after that. It's like a spontaneous thing, and that's what had to happen because I know they didn't know he was coming to the restaurant. So more than likely it was spontaneous. And even more so, I was wondering what was he even doing over there? Why would he go to that that particular Roscoe's? It was funny. I got a call one day from Antonio Moore, who is a attorney who also does a podcast, and he knew that I stayed right in that area too. So he called me and he asked me some questions about the area, Hey, is it a nice hotel over there? And I was like, nah. Any tourist attractions? And I was like, nah. And he was like, well, what was this guy doing over there? And I was like, I don't know. He said, well, they was going live on Instagram and they had some Gucci bags and, some fancy bags and he was driving a nice car and He's wearing all this jewelry. Why would he go over there with that? And I was like, I don't know. And he was like, well, maybe he went over there to show off in front of everybody and show them how good he was doing and how bad they doing. I said, what? I never thought about that. I said, that's a whole new set of question and answers.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's from Philly. He's not from this coast at all.
Yeah, but he passed a Roscoe's leaving the airport.
Yeah, in Inglewood. Inglewood, like, honestly.
Which is a much safer because they got two security guards.
They got two security guards, and it's literally right by the freeway. It's not, where it's located is,
that's so-so.
To me,
that's so-so.
It's so-so. I'm not going to say it's the safest place in LA, but I've
But the one he went to?
Yeah, not so-so.
Now, I go to a shop right across the street, and even there, you know, people come through, you know, you can see, like, you know what I'm saying, where you at? You know, anything could go down here at any time. You know, like, you never know. It's still that element is still there. You know, like a Swan could see a East Coast, or Hoover could see, you know, the different fractions, and it just go down, you know. So that's the kind of area that is.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I was talking to Iman Shumpert about this, and he was saying, I think he knew PnB Rock. And he's like, he's the type of guy that'll just pop up in the hood, like, you know, and want to hang out. And I mean, look, I remember when I was first, you know, starting my video career before VladTV, and I'm holding the camera, I would go to damn near any hood. I would film in Compton. I'd film in South Central. I would film in Watts. I would show up on people's blocks with the camera and so forth. But in retrospect, you know, and people were pulling out guns, you know, during the interviews and whatever else. In retrospect, I'm like, I could have gotten shot. You know, I remember interviewing Lil Easy in front of his grandmother's house, and he tucked in his pistol before the interview started, and he would always, like, his head would be on a swivel the entire interview, and I'm sitting there going, like, where am I right now? I don't have a pistol. Like what's about to happen? Because this guy is clearly nervous during the interview, and I talked to him about this when I finally got to interview him again, and yeah, man, it's like.
But that's the hood, man. That's how it is on my block right now, where I live at. I live in Denver Lane hood, so I understand that at any given time, it could go down. You know, they could get mad. Man, we tired of y'all over there. You know, because I grew up in a Hoover hood. Arch one enemies with Denver Lanes. But I went and got permission to be over there. But I also know at the same time that any one of them dudes could go crazy and be like, man, y'all letting them dudes over here. I'm tired of that. Boo, ooh, ooh. You know what I'm saying? And then a whole nother ordeal. So that's the area that we in. That's the area that he in when he went to Roscoe's. Roscoe's is the same, worse.
Yeah, and I think the problem is that, you know, it's the type of area that he grew up in, but just in Philly, and you get a type of love because this is like your core fan base, right? You get the type of love in these areas that you're not going to get in Hollywood or Santa Monica or whatever. But there's a flip side to it. You'll get a type of hate and jealousy in these places that you won't get on Sunset Boulevard, and it's fucked up. I never got to meet him. I'd wanted to interview him, but we never got anywhere with that interview. You know, DJ Academics got to interview him right before he passed. Hey, listen, he was an artist that people liked. He had some money. He wasn't like a billionaire, but he had enough to support himself and do shows and everything else like that. And to die tragically, what was he, maybe early 30s, late 20s? It's
almost too many rappers that's done like that right now.
It's another LA story, you know, followed, you know, Nipsey Hussle. Like, how far is that from Nipsey Hussle's story?
About 5 miles.
5 miles.
That's all part of South Central, though. I mean, they changed the name now, but, you know, South Central is you know, it's been an ugly place for a while.
I mean, Ice Cube made songs about it. How to survive in South Central.
Yeah, go down in South Central.
What's it called now?
I don't even know. I like South Central.
That's what I call it. I've never called it anything else.
Yeah, I like South Central, man.
Yeah.
I ain't even recognize that other name.
Well, if you look at down south right now, in Atlanta, there's the YSL RICO case with Young Thug Gunna. 28 people have been indicted under a state RICO. You yourself, did you go to prison under a RICO case?
No, they didn't file RICO on me. They filed 3 strikes. 3 strikes is 3 strikes is worse in some ways because it's harder to get it off of you. The RICO, they get a lot of reverses on RICOs.
Huh. Okay. Explain.
Because they got to have so many things got to be right on the RICO. On the RICO, you got to have 5 or more people. You got to make X amount of dollars. And you got to sell 2 different kinds of drugs.
Really?
Yeah.
2 different kinds of drugs. So if all you sell is cocaine, you can't get your RICO?
You may be able to, but I think it's triggers to it. You know, I don't know all the triggers. I've been out of the law library, for a long time now, but it has triggers to the RICO. The RICO you have to meet those triggers in order to get the RICO. The 3 strike law, though, all you have to have is 2 prior convictions. So it's a much easier case for them.
So 2 felonies, felony number 3 is the 3rd strike, life in prison.
Right.
Did they try to get you under a RICO at all, or RICO's never?
I had a RICO indictment in L.A., but they pulled it because of the cops that got indicted.
Aha. So when you first found out you were facing a RICO, how nervous were you over that? Because, RICO was originally enacted in the 70s for the Italian mafia.
Right.
And over time, it's expanded into all races and all walks of life. Honestly, I feel that, RICO is just something could be too easily abused. Because, a lot of times with RICOs, you got people that aren't even part of the shit. This may just be a friend.
But they can get them with a conspiracy.
Yeah.
They could get you with the conspiracy or the aiding and abetting. Both of those really can carry the same thing as the crime that's being committed.
Yeah, no.
As a head boss. I'm saying in the conspiracy, you could get the same amount of time as the boss get. If you let me use your car and you knew that I'm going to do a drug deal, then you aided and abetted in that drug deal.
Well, yeah, I remember I did an interview with Brandy Davis. She was a former Queen Pin and a BMF affiliate. And I remember I said, well, what was the craziest part of prison when you went there? And she said the craziest part to me was she was locked up with all these females who would have like drug dealer boyfriends who had regular 9-to-5 jobs, had nothing to do with this man selling drugs, wasn't transporting, wasn't carrying, would work at like the post office or a medical office or something like that. But once those charges came through, they said, okay, we've proven that your rent was being paid by your boyfriend and that money came from drugs. So therefore you are part of this drug conspiracy. 6 years in prison.
And then it's crazy because I met a lot of girls too, Vlad, in there that didn't do nothing. I got a girlfriend, worked a job. Her boyfriend was a drug dealer, yes, but she went to work. You could put a kilo of cocaine in front of her face and she wouldn't even know what it was. And she got 6.5 years in federal prison because of money laundering, because they said that she lived her life off drugs proceeds from her significant other at the time. So she was guilty of money laundering and got 6.5 years and went to jail when her baby was like 2 months. So I try to, I speak to girls, you know what I'm saying? And I speak to young girls and I speak to women and I try to just talk to them and enlighten them, like you said, on the flip side, because everything that's glitz and glamour, you're not thinking about the consequences that come with that type of lifestyle. Because this girl's going to jail for 6.5 years for just spending their boyfriend's money. They didn't even sell drugs.
I never saw a case like that one.
She told me firsthand experience about this.
I know they indict everybody because it makes it easier to get a guilty plea from the head. Usually if they get your wife and your mom, you want to let them off. So you usually plead, and that's one of their tactics to do that. But I never knew that they could get you if he paid your rent.
Yeah. Pays your rent, pays your bills, maybe bought you a car.
Because you're supposed to see the way the law reads with aiding and abetting is that you're supposed to aid in the function of them doing that drug deal. If your thing wasn't directly connected to him accomplishing the drug deal, I don't think they can get you under that. It don't seem. It just don't. To me, it don't seem right from reading all the law books I read on conspiracy and drug trafficking. I never saw one where they gave you some money and they got you into conspiracy. Now, if you was cleaning the money up for them, that's different.
Well, I mean, but think about it though, right? 95% of these cases don't make it to court.
No, 98%.
98%. So in these types of cases, if it went to trial, maybe that girl could have walked away.
But she might have pled guilty. She might have.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, she probably, yeah. Okay, yeah, she probably, yeah. In those situations,
see what I'm
she
saying?
Gets scared. And
she gets scared. Like, okay, you're facing 20 years. You're facing 30 years. Take this 6 so we have another conviction on our belt.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
or fully cooperate and get everyone else locked up and so forth.
That's a lousy lawyer.
Probably,
and they do get lousy lawyers too.
Court-appointed lawyers.
Yeah.
Usually when all the chips start to fall, the boyfriend can't pay, for the big lawyer. You get appointed somebody, and they're just trying to get that off their desk and say, "Listen, just plead to this 6."
And you're gone.
And my job is done. And I can go back to my law office and make the real money.
Yeah, because when you're in the feds, you be like, if you're innocent, you better take it. If you're guilty, take it.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're one of 2 people that I've ever interviewed that has actually beat a Fed case.
Well, I didn't actually beat it. I did 20 years on mine. So.
Well, you got it reversed, though.
Yeah, I got a reversal.
So you technically beat it.
I beat part of it.
You beat part of it.
Yeah.
Right. The other party is Murder Inc.
Oh, Irving. But they didn't do nothing.
But they still beat it.
Yeah, they beat it. I knew they was gonna beat the case when they indicted them. I didn't think that that case was solid. When from looking at it from the beginning, like if they got money from Def Jam and it was just too much. They was trying to tie too much in. The government was overreaching, I felt.
Yeah, they're trying to get Supreme.
Right.
Kenneth Supreme Williams. Right, because I remember interviewing Chris Gotti, Irv Gotti's brother, about this.
Yeah, I know Chris and Irv.
Yeah, good dudes. And they actually offered them probation. They were like, look, just plead guilty to this, lesser charge, you'll get probation, everyone could walk away. And they were like, no, we're going to fight it. We're going to fight it. We didn't do anything. And they won.
I didn't do anything. I'm not taking no time for something I didn't do. But really what they wanted was a story. And they wanted a story on Supreme. That's it. If we gave a story, we did anything. They went down to as low as no jail time, just a conviction.
A conviction with no jail time? I've never even heard of this.
Yeah, they was going to give us probation.
Oh, probation. Okay, yeah, I've heard of this.
And give us probation. But we had to tell on Supreme about, and we like, what are we telling? And they swore that we have some stories to tell. And I'm like, there's no stories to tell. And when that last offer came in, I told Shagel, just tell him let's go to trial and let's see where it goes. Shagel, my lawyer, was like, Chris, you understand this? Before we do that, he said, I can't guarantee you're going to be found innocent. I said, he's like, I understand. But he said, this deal's like unheard of.
Yeah, because they didn't have no way of showing that he got money from Supreme. I didn't see, when I was keeping up with the case, I'm looking at it from the newspaper, but they never even showed where there was even any expected money that Supreme had gave them. I see no evidence. They presented no evidence at all on Irv and them having anything to do with him other than, shooting that movie that he shot that time. But Irv and them financed that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, even one of the jurors came out and said this whole case was bullshit.
Yeah.
I don't even know why I'm here. Well, but the YSL case is ugly. I don't know. Have you followed it at all?
A little bit. I've been keeping up with it.
Well, 28 people are indicted, including Young Thug and Gunna. Nobody is given bail. Nobody's given bond. Is that odd to you at all?
No. I mean, when we were going to court, nobody got bail.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
They said we were a danger to society. They felt that we had the power to intimidate witnesses and, you could jump bail if you wanted to and leave the country.
Does that ever happen? Does anyone ever jump bail and leave the country? Have you heard of this before? You always hear about the threat of this, but
I never knew anybody that did.
That's what I'm saying. I remember even
where I'm gonna go.
Right. But we had this one interview that my man Cavario did with Big Meech from BMF, and he asked him that same question. He goes, "Why didn't you just take all your money and go somewhere where they can't extradite you?" And he said, "Well, I thought about that, but I was taking care of too many people and my family, and I couldn't take everyone with me.
Right.
I would just be able to escape myself, and I wasn't trying to do that." So yeah, there's that. And like you said, it was witness intimidation. They're worried, or at least what they're stating, is that if we let these guys out, all the witnesses they have will ultimately
disappear. Well, you figure if you walk in the courtroom and the witness walk in the courtroom at the same time, and the witness is going to be like, he's free, to do whatever he want to do. And the rest. They don't know what he's going to do to him. And especially if they lying on him or, like so many of them do, fabricate evidence. The person might be angry. You're taking them away from their kids and their family might be dependent on them. Just like Meek said his family was dependent on them. And taking them away, putting them in jail puts their whole family at risk.
Well, yeah. I mean, no one's being given bond. 28 people are in there.
But those guys got guns, though, too.
Oh, it's a mess. It's a mess. I mean, in fact, when the raids started to happen, when they went to Young Thug's house, they found a gun with a switch, which is, a conversion into an automatic. That by itself is 10 years. That alone, you get them on nothing else. That one gun by itself is 10 years. Plus, they found some drugs at the house. And there's just, I read through the whole indictment. It's insane. They had text messages all over the place.
Wow.
They have social media posts, and everyone's focusing on the lyrics. And yes, some of the lyrics might look bad to a jury, but really the case is not focused on the lyrics. It's text messages. It's this. They have something called stingrays at the prison. So some of the phone calls and texts that were being made in prison, they've intercepted those, and they found burner phones based on these interceptions. And it's, they've triangulated the crimes to put certain people in those locations, phone calls that were made before and after the crime to people in prison and out of prison. And
wow.
It's
so they got that kind of evidence on
them? They
them?
have that type of evidence. And what's interesting also, I interviewed George Cheedy. He's a journalist from Atlanta that really let us know that this was about to come, and has been covering this really profusely. He's been studying the whole thing for a while. What George told me is that the prosecution has not released all the evidence to the lawyers yet. They're keeping a lot of stuff secret until the very last minute.
Yeah.
You know about this tactic, right?
Yeah.
How's that legal, by the way?
Called Brady versus Maryland. Well, as long as they give you enough time to investigate it, like the court set a date. Mm-hmm. Brady material, it's called Brady material. So they set a certain date, the Brady material must be turned over. And at that date is when you're going to get it. You're not going to get it before that.
Aha.
Yeah, the prosecutors would be crazy to give it to you early. Unless, when they got a rock solid case, they might do that. But if it's any chance that, that the Brady material is going to help you, they're going to give it to you at the last minute.
Right. So they're keeping all the evidence to themselves. They keep trying to push back the trial date. And even when they do set the trial date, once they release all the evidence, then the defense is probably going to have to push back the trial date because they're going to need time to review everything and create a defense out of all this mountain of new information.
Yeah, they may.
Right.
They don't have to, but they probably will.
They probably will because they want to defend their clients.
Right. They want you want the best opportunity you can. You know, you're supposed to give him the best representation that you can get him.
Well, I mean, 2 of the guys are multimillionaires. The other 26 are not, but 2 of the guys are multimillionaires. So you have a situation where this trial, if everyone's lucky, will probably not start until the middle of 2023. And Boosie said something interesting. You know, when I talked about how, you know, with this many people, what do you think is going to happen? And he said, well, you can't shake a bag with 28 eggs and expect none of them to crack.
I was like, man, I don't know, bro. Once it go to trial, you know, and I hear the evidence and see how bad it is, but like I told him, it's hard to put 28 eggs in a crate and shake all of them and none of them don't crack.
You know, what everyone is saying is kind of likely is that, and it's actually already happening, is that people are actually doing proffer agreements already and are already starting to kind of cooperate against each other.
Well, that's normal though. But I don't see where it would, having the kind of evidence that you saying that the government has already, I don't see why they even need anybody to cooperate. You know, when you got that kind of rock solid evidence, you know, nobody's gonna argue with text messages, records where they can show you at this place and that place. I mean, you know, they convict us on hearsay evidence. You know, like I saw him one day with some drugs. You know, that was 3 years ago.
That's how you got convicted.
Yeah, you know, that kind of evidence.
Hearsay.
Yeah,
I mean, like, it's so interesting how these types of cases are so skewed to the government, I feel.
When you say skewed, what does that mean?
Meaning that a proffer agreement, I feel, should just be illegal, right? The fact that in a proffer agreement, you could say, hey, I saw Rick, me and Rick went and did a murder, and me and Rick sold 20 tons of cocaine, and me and Rick did all this, you know, drive-by shootings and everything. So go ahead and use all the stuff against Rick, and you can't use anything you said against me.
Well, but if they didn't do that, then they would lose a lot of their cases.
Well, yeah, as they should. It would seem to me that if you're confessing and you're involving yourself in a crime, you should be now liable for that crime as well.
Well, you are, but the government forgives you. They didn't say that you're not liable for the crime. They're just saying that we're not going to make you do the time. That's really when they make those deals with the people. They never say that he's not guilty of the crime.
Right, but they say that everything he says in that room cannot be used in a court of law at all.
Against him.
Against him.
Right. That's what I'm saying. They're not saying that he didn't do the crimes.
Right.
They're just saying we're not going to charge you with them.
Yeah.
You know, you still a piece of shit motherfucker, basically. Like, you the scum of the earth, but we're going to do a deal with you.
Yeah.
We'll work with you. We'll take your testimony and take it in front of a jury and see when they tell the jury about your friend, if they believe you.
Yeah.
And then when you tell the story about how you guys ran together and the jury probably going to look at me and say, when you and him was running together, he's a piece of shit, you a piece of shit too. And put you in jail and he going to go out and do somebody else.
Yeah. I mean, another thing I have a problem with is, okay, for example, there's the whole fruit from a poison tree concept, right? Meaning that if I get a search warrant against you and I find a bunch of drugs at your house, but then they found out that my search warrant was based on a lie, then therefore everything I found in that search warrant has to be thrown out.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Now that's a real law in cases get thrown out.
Oh, absolutely.
Because of that.
Absolutely.
But if I'm a cop and I walk into a room with you and said, hey, your friend just told me that you sold all the drugs and you killed 20 people and he's testifying against you. And this is what he told me. And I swear to God, that's what he said. And then that makes you say, oh, okay, well, let me tell you some things. And then you find out that the cop was lying the whole time. That's okay. That's fully admissible.
That's a different scenario. I ain't never thought about that one.
Think about that. That's a cop could lie to you.
He can
to
lie.
get you.
I guess he could lie to me. He can't lie on the witness stand though.
He can't lie on the witness stand. But what I'm saying is that cop can get on the witness stand and say that I lied to Freeway Ricky to get him to confess, and he fell for it.
Yeah, you're right. They can't do that because, I mean, I saw where females have sex with the people they're trying to catch, you know, and even though they say it's unethical, you know, but it's part of the deception that
Female cops.
Yeah.
Well, undercover, whatever.
Yeah. The judges said that it's unethical. They didn't, you know, take kindly of it, but it's part of being undercover, you know. But they'll kind of let them get away with stuff when they're undercover. I mean, it's a lie for them to be undercover. You know, they posing as somebody they really not. So you start that whole thing off as a lie and bullshit. But, you know, it's the court system, man. We in America. And, you know, I'm like this here, man. If you still out here committing crime, you know, these days, you know, something wrong with you, man. It's a lot easier than it used to be. You know, when we was coming up, we didn't have Google to tell us all the different ways to make money and how you can, you know, you really can start with nothing. They got people out here that's really taking these right here and this right here and making money out of it. You know, so if you out here, you thinking, you know, you're going to grab somebody's gold chains and, you know, go stick somebody up, or you want to be selling cocaine and fentanyl and, you know, all the different insane stuff that we got going on in our streets today, you know, something is wrong with you. You know, there's too many other ways that you can, you know, make a decent living for yourself, you know, and if you really, you know, if they really dedicate themselves, you know, really commit themselves, I mean, Vlad, you know, like me, man, I got out, you know, when I first started doing interviews with you, man, I don't know if I was still homeless then or not, you know.
Really?
Yeah, I was homeless for a while.
Huh.
Right during the time when we started interviewing.
It was a whole lot better than where you were before, though.
Way better.
Right.
You know, I'm on the verge of really shocking, like, so many different industries. The weed industry, the music industry, boxing, you know, all the stuff I told y'all I was going to, you know, I told y'all about this, and y'all said it was pipe dreams.
I never said that. I never said that.
I didn't say you.
I've never underestimated Freeway Ricky, let me tell you.
I didn't say you. I said y'all thought there was pipe dreams.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, I don't know. I just got a way that I look at the world kind of like different than most people. You know, I just see so many different opportunities, and I've been able to see situations and be able to make them better, you know, and that's one of the keys of making money, just going and make things better, you know. And when you do that, people just pay you. You don't even have to ask for the money. They just give you the money, you know. Like,
I mean, since you got out, has anyone ever approached you to try to do a drug deal with you?
Absolutely.
Really?
At least 4 times. I've been
times.
in position to where that if I wanted to go back into cocaine, it was major deals.
Major deal.
Yeah, I don't know why they think all I want to do is major deals. That's what the cops, you know, that's why they come with me with 100 kilos. Like, damn, motherfucker, let me buy one first. You know, let me get an ounce. You know what I'm saying? Normally when you start selling drugs, you start with an ounce or maybe an eighth or something like that. There, y'all didn't read the book. You know, so they come, you know, with 100 kilos, but they was playing on my mindset, you know, that I still wanted to be big, you know. But yeah, I done been approached about 4 times, you know.
Okay. Out of those 4, how many of those do you think were cops? Or someone working closely with the cops?
You know what? I didn't even give it that much of a thought. You know, I shut that down real quick.
Not interested next.
Not interested. No, not at all. Please. And then I also say, please, will you not talk about that around me? Because, you know, they might be listening.
Do you think that law enforcement was following you around and seeing if you were going to?
I never thought that.
Nah?
Nah. I was just joking. You know, I like to joke around sometimes. You know what I'm saying? But no, man, I have no, I don't want to talk about it. You know, it'd be hard for me even, you know, like when I be doing the book and stuff to just talk about, because I don't want to talk about it. You know, Yeah, I went to a high school the other day in South Central LA, you know, and I was talking to the kids there, and it was great. Wait till they air it; they're gonna air it too. So it's probably one of my best speeches since I've been doing this. Because I was right there with PnB Rock. I killed that. Like, it was like, you know, you can look from the school and see the Roscoe's.
Crazy.
Yeah, right there. So it was special, you know, because I'm talking to the kids and I'm like, man, it was 3 books, right? These 3 books that really like showed me who I really was and what I could really do with my life. And I said, these books was like magic. I said, it was Think and Grow Rich, The Richest Man in Babylon, and As a Man Think. And then I stopped and I just looked around the class, right? I'm looking. Not one kid was writing down their books.
Not one.
Not one.
Go ahead and name the books again, because in our previous interview, we actually listed the books in the links, and I followed the links, and literally, I think thousands of people clicked on those links to check out the books. So name those 3 books again, just so we can spread the knowledge.
Think and Grow Rich, The Richest Man in Babylon, and As a Man Think or As a Woman Think.
Boom.
So I'm looking around the class and I stand up, right? I was like, wow. I said, you know, when I spoke at Brown University and I told them about the book, I was in an auditorium full of kids, standing room only. The people said that the guy who used to own Twitter had spoke the week before, said we had the same amount of people inside. And I said, every single kid in there, when they backpack, pulled out notepads and wrote the name of those books down. Here I am in South Central LA with the ones who need it the most.
Yeah.
And they didn't even challenge me to see if what I'm saying about the books was true. Because the first thing, they're not going to even remember the names because they didn't write the names down. See, if you got the name of the books, then your next problem is to find out how to get them.
Well, it's easy to get a book these days. There's Amazon. There's also Google. But what's interesting is I'm actually helping some young kids learn how to read recently. And I was thinking about you as I was doing it because you did not know how to read until you went to prison.
Absolutely.
Right? You were completely illiterate.
Totally.
And it got me thinking about, I'm like, okay, if these kids don't learn how to read right now, as the grades progress, they will just fall farther and farther behind with no chance of ever catching up. So they're sitting in a class not knowing what's going on, completely oblivious to the topics being discussed. It gets progressively worse year after year. By the time they get to high school, if you don't know how to read by junior high, you're really fucked. You're completely fucked. None of these classes will make sense to you. Right? So I really wonder in these schools, and a lot of times, man, the teachers themselves will not get the kids reading and doing math and stuff like that. A lot of that work has to be done at home by the parents or the relatives or whatever else.
I think we got to start a culture, man.
But I just want to say this, I'm going to guess that some of these kids that you're doing the speech to might not know how to read.
Absolutely.
Right?
I agree.
So why would they pull out a pencil and write down a book when they don't know how to read?
I agree.
And hence the problem.
But now you got to become a critical thinker because these books are on audio too.
Yeah, but putting these pieces together in your head at that young age.
You're right, but that's what we got to teach our kids how to do.
Right.
See, they got to learn how to put the pieces together because if you can't put the pieces together, you can never get the piece put together.
Right. Brown University, you do not get in if you can't read. Brown University, not only do you read, but you're testing at the highest levels. You're getting close to 1,600 SATs and so forth. You've probably been like that since kindergarten. Since kindergarten, first grade, second grade, you've been on top of it. Whoever was around you made sure that you excelled. So by the time you get there, you got it. So when Freeway Ricky comes in and starts, listing off some books, oh yeah, I've been doing this since a little kid. Like, let me write this down. Let me go home and so forth.
Point well taken.
You see what I mean?
No. I get it. And I didn't get mad at the kids.
No.
You know, I told them I wasn't mad at you.
Yeah, why would you be?
But I want you to be smart enough to learn that you have to start getting the things that you need to get you to a position that you want to be in. You know, okay, I can't read. How else can I get that information? You know, Mr. Ross, is there any other way that I can get those books if you can't read? You know, I mean, they have to start thinking.
But who's going to raise their hand and say, I can't read? Nobody. See? Hence, you see how it starts to sort of snowball into a bigger problem?
Yeah. We got issues. But you know, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help solve them.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. That's going to be my legacy. Help solve the problems.
Is there an inherent difference between a state and a federal RICO case?
Well, yeah, probably is. I'm not. Yeah, definitely. It's some differences.
I mean, there's definitely resources involved because the state doesn't have as much money as the feds.
Yeah, but the feds do a lot of different. Like feds, you don't get a preliminary hearing. You know, if they indict you, you don't get to see your witnesses. Like you may never talk to your informants until trial. It'll be the first time you can see your informants. Usually in states, they do a preliminary hearing where they bring the witnesses in and you know, they tell their little story, part of the story. But in the feds, you don't get that luxury.
Yeah, man, it's an ugly situation. And everyone is like free YSL, free Young Thug, protect Black art, and so forth. You know, but ultimately, you have the situation where, you know, like Akon was talking about this the other day with me, where you got these artists who are trying not to be artists. They're trying to actually be gangsters at the same time. They want to rap about what they're actually doing, even after they become successful. And
that's retarded.
And the DA,
the guys in the streets trying to get out.
Yeah.
So they say.
And the DA said, you know, everyone's mad at me over using lyrics. And she's like, if you want to go ahead and rap about your crimes, I will use that in my cases.
I'm surprised they ain't been doing that.
Well, they have been doing that.
Because
it's just not as high profile as it is
Could you imagine if the feds would have got me on the tape rapping about selling cocaine, they would have used that in court. Like here he is out his own mouth talking about how he sold drugs, you know. So I'm just shocked that they hadn't been, you know, using more of that type of language, you know, or they got to, I don't know. It's crazy because, you know, it's almost like the guys will be on TV portraying as drug dealers selling cocaine. So I don't know, or heroin or whatever. It's a sticky situation. It's a sticky slope, you know, to be going down. Because now you're talking about art and entertainment and real life, and I don't know. It's too much for me to you know, I don't want to be nowhere near that area. So, you know, if y'all want to go down that area, like, you know, we working on the record label now, but we're going to stay away from the gangsterism.
As you should. As you should. And I've discussed this before. What I think is going to happen, you know, for example, part of the case that the DA is essentially putting together is that there's a war that's been going on in Atlanta between YSL and YFN, right? And YFN, Lucci is one of the guys from YFN. He's in jail right now over his own RICO case. And at one point, YFN Lucci's mother got shot. And part of the case is a Young Thug lyric that said, I shot at his mother, now he don't mention me. So they're tying that lyric into the shooting. Is it related? Who knows? I have no idea. But let's look at a situation like this.
For arguing that case to the jury, it would be great evidence.
Right. So if it gets to the jury and everything's, you know, put together and so forth, but a much more likely situation is, like you said, 98% of the cases don't get to trial. Let's just say the Young Thug pleads guilty for a lesser charge, for a lesser amount of time. And part of his guilty plea is like, yes, this lyric is about Lucci's mother. Lucci's mother could then sue the record label and say, you guys were profiting and promoting these lyrics, this music that ultimately caused a massive amount of trauma to me. Here I am, an older woman who got shot by this rapper that you have made millions of dollars off of. 300 Entertainment was completely purchased by Warner Brothers, the parent label. $100 million lawsuit, massive settlement, and then you see a domino effect that starts to happen, where now major labels are not signing certain types of artists because of the financial liability involved. There was a famous case recently, for example, where this Comcast installer ended up killing an old woman. The family sued Comcast and proved that Comcast did not do a background check on this guy because he had a prior, criminal history. They got $1 billion from Comcast.
Wow.
Now, I don't know whether they're actually going to get it at the end of the day, but what I'm saying is that you see situations like this.
No, it makes sense to me.
You see what I'm saying?
I totally get it. No,
You see what I'm saying?
I totally get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. For example, hold on.
Well, they suing Alex Jones just got hit with a big lawsuit.
That's what I'm saying.
For his comments about the people faking the shooting at the last school. Well, not the last.
$1 billion. Kanye West is being sued by George Floyd's daughter's mother about comments that he made and so forth. This is very commonplace in the legal world today. And for example, Jamaica recently announced they're actually banning music and broadcasts that actually glorified drugs and crime on the radio. I don't necessarily think this is a bad thing. And I'm a fan of gangster rap from NWA, Ice-T. I've been listening to music my whole life. But should major corporations be pushing this on a massive level at the highest possible level? I don't know. And I think that after one of them gets hit with $100 million penalty, all of them are going to sit down and say, we're going to drop this artist, we're going to drop this artist, we're going to drop this artist. You're going to, before we put your album out, we're going to have somebody go through carefully and say, take this song out, take this lyric out, take this out. You don't like it? Fine, we'll let you go. Here's your release from the label. Go put it out independently if you want. And people say, oh, it's the same thing as movies or so forth. No, it's not the same thing as movies. A lot of time, this stuff is based on reality and based on things that are happening, which as we see with a lot of these cases right now. I'm not necessarily mad at this. I feel like at some point, hip hop has to grow up. I don't think it's grown up yet. It's been 50 years. At 50 years old, if you haven't grown up,
you're still gangbanging.
50-year-old
gangbanging.
50-year-old gangbanging. Right? It's kind of a joke, right?
Yeah,
when you see a dude who's 50 years old who's still set tripping on people and still like.
And those guys got so much power, man. Those guys got a lot of power, but they don't really use it. And I don't know. It's like you try to direct them and you try to guide them, but they just don't see it. They don't see where they could be and what they could be doing for the community. At the end of the day, when you want your legacy should be how much you help the community, how you make the world a better place than it's not about how many people you can kill or, we just, right now we're just a little twisted, but we're going to get it together. We're going to put it together.
Well, Biden actually, since our last interview, he passed a law that actually pardoned thousands of marijuana possession arrests.
That was a joke.
It was a joke. Explain.
Well, he said low-level weed dealers. There's no low-level weed dealers in the feds. If you got caught with 2 ounces or 3 ounces, the Fed didn't indict. You need about 300 pounds to really affect the guidelines in the feds for weed. So what he did was just lip service, made people feel good. Nobody's affected by that.
Well, I thought that thousands of people got released, or no? That's bullshit.
Ain't no thousands of people in there for no 2 ounces of weed or no joints. And he said low level.
Aha. Okay, so if you get caught with 100 pounds,
you ain't going to jail.
You're right there, anyways.
Well, right now, I was talking to a truck driver the other day. He said with the truck drivers, they all know that if you're gonna get caught with 200 pounds, less than 200 pounds, they write you a ticket.
So you can have 190 pounds and it's all
and you
good.
don't get a ticket. You ain't going to jail.
So you just keep pushing 190 pounds and you're good.
Yeah, so they more than likely ain't going to indict. If they ain't locking you up for it, the police write you a ticket, the courts ain't going to file. It's a waste of time.
Aha.
You going to take somebody to jail a jury trial for some weed? Where? In the United States. Everybody think it's legal all over the country.
Well, but Reggie Wright Jr., who's on my show a bunch of times, he went to jail for weed, for pushing.
Yeah, that was before, though. Not right now.
Well, it was a few years ago.
Right now, it's 35 states that's legal.
Aha. Yeah, I think he was pushing weed from California into places where it wasn't legal.
Right. Everybody was doing that in California. Still do that. But but what I'm saying is that Oklahoma wasn't legal then. You know what I'm saying? Louisiana wasn't legal. Mississippi wasn't legal. Alabama wasn't legal. All of these states are legal now. So they don't care about weed no more.
So let me ask you a question. I've always wondered about this. And I've always not done it just to be extra careful. But if I fly from LA to Oakland, can I bring weed with me on the plane?
You can.
But once you're in the air, aren't you in federal airspace?
I don't know.
you see what I'm saying?
But they LAX don't care if you got weed. The security people, they don't care if you have weed.
Right.
Up to 2 ounces. And when you get to Oakland, they're not going to care if you have weed. So
it's whatever.
It's whatever, man. And I guarantee you, if DEA stop you in the airport, you got 2 ounces of weed, they're not going to take your weed.
If you have a gun with you, that's a different situation.
Different situation now. You got the gun, so you got the gun and some weed. We're going to book you for both of them.
Yeah, I just interviewed Joel Santana. He accidentally left a gun in one of his bags, and he went to the airport. He basically just, when they went to go, told him to, go to the side, he just sort of kind of ran off, sort of, then had to turn himself in a little bit later and had to do some jail time over that. But yeah, I've always, I guess for me, I've always felt like, why take the risk? If there's any risk of me even being delayed for a considerable amount of time, why? I could probably get weed when I land. Whether it's legal or illegal, I could find someone.
You can. Anywhere in the country, you can get weed now.
That's what I'm saying. Wherever I am, I can find some weed.
They're growing weed all over the place.
Right.
Now,
so why take the extra chance? But some people,
they
don't.
Want that Cali.
They don't think
if
it out.
You live in Cali, you want Cali weed.
Right, exactly.
You ain't gonna smoke. You ain't going to Alabama.
I know. Going to New York, it's not quite the same over here. Speaking of weed, from the first day that we did our first interview, you were launching your weed business. Was it LA Kingpin?
Yep.
Okay, how's that going? Really?
It's up and down. What I do is I pace myself. Right now the weed industry is going through a little thing. But I'm in great position though. I'm in 11 states now.
Okay, but why is it
It is. The weed business is right now.
Right, because I'm not going to say who it is, just so they don't catch any flack for this. But I know someone who had a large legal growing operation. And I was like, he owned a bunch of land and everything. I'm like, how's it going? He's like, man, the Armenians have come in and just start undercutting everybody. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a real thing.
Yeah. The price, you can get a price of weed right now, a pound of weed for like $400.
How much was it a year ago? 2 years ago?
Pandemic time?
Yeah.
24, 2600.
Wait. 6 times. 6-time difference.
Yeah.
600%.
Yeah.
Discount.
Yeah. They gave out too many licenses. The market is flooded.
Wow.
Oh, it's gonna be some blood in the street. The weed dealers might start gang banging with each other. Like, you selling it too cheap.
Wow. Right, because weed, yeah. I
The
mean,
$4,000 pounds right now, you probably $1,200.
wow. It's being undercut that badly.
It's bad.
And why? Because certain people just want market share and they want to drive everyone out?
It's people that got warehouses and stuff, you know, they make $30 million a month. During that time, they was making like $30 million a month. So, you know, that's probably got cut subsidiary.
To $5 million?
And they got too much weed. They got to get rid of it, and they got all this overhead. It take a lot. Say, for instance, they got 14,000 lights hung. The electricity bill is probably like $3 million a month.
Wait, what? $3 million a month just for electricity?
Just for electricity. And that ain't counting, you know, building notes, employees,
insurance,
you know, all the stuff to go with it. So you talking about a guy like that, you know, he got to make X amount of dollars every single month. Otherwise, he feel it.
Yeah, no, I remember when Canadian weed stocks were like the thing. Mm-hmm. I remember one of my homies called me up. Was like, "Yo, man, should I invest in this?" I said, "I'm like, honestly, I don't know anything about this business. And when it comes to investing, if I don't know anything about that business, I keep my money right in my pocket. Unless I'm."
You did right. I bet they falling. I bet the stocks is falling on.
They plummeted. They plummeted because weed is sort of an interesting business, right? I mean, how much brand
you gotta
loyalty?
know how to sell weed too. See, they got people right
it.
now who don't know how to sell weed.
Right.
That's why I'm just waiting my time. You know, it's gonna all come to me.
Yeah, I mean, brand loyalty. I don't know if you have the same brand loyalty with weed as you do with like liquor.
Yeah, they do.
They do?
Oh, ain't no question. Good weed, they love good weed.
But there's so much good weed now.
No,
you see what I'm saying?
No, It's some special growers out there. I ain't gonna mention their names.
Okay.
Because somebody tried to snatch them from me. I'm gonna be gang banging.
Okay. So your weed business, LA Kings, it's in 11 locations.
No, 11 states.
11 states. How many locations?
Here in California, I ain't in that many locations here in California. I lost some of my locations. I'm in probably right now about 6.
6 stores.
Yeah, but I'm coming with a new strategy now. I'm finna one time I was in 20, and then I got, you know, they opened up and I started traveling around the country and doing books and everything else, and it kind of fell off. But I got a new strategy that I'm finna implement with these 6 stores that I'm in. I'm gonna start working those stores if they're mine, like they're my own store.
Okay, but in terms of your weed operation, how much of the vertical part do you actually own? Meaning, are you actually growing it?
No, not yet.
So you're buying the weed from someone else.
From other growers, yes.
And then you're putting it in jars and putting your logo on it and then selling it out. Mm-hmm. Then selling it to the stores.
Same thing I did when I sold cocaine. You know, I didn't make the cocaine.
Right.
I bought it from the people who made it, and then I distributed it to sellers.
Yeah, but when you're doing cocaine, you don't pay taxes.
That's part of the game, though. Everybody's supposed to pay taxes.
Right.
So
I'm just saying it's a whole lot more profitable when you're. I
don't know. You know.
Really?
It was a time cocaine wasn't as profitable as people might think it was. You know, I used to sell when at a time I was buying $1 million worth. I'd only make 200,000 profit.
20%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember me and TK Kirkland were kind of breaking it down about how if you buy for $1 million and you were high up, so if you were not Freeway Ricky during that time, so let's just look at $100 purchase, right? For you, if you purchased $100 worth of cocaine, $20 was yours.
Right.
Right? But if you're not buying at the level that you're buying it at, that might easily go down to $10 or $5 profit to someone more lower level.
Correct.
So here you are, and the penalties for any level of weight in cocaine is atrocious.
Absolutely.
Atrocious.
Absolutely. I don't see my 2 babies win with him.
Right.
If I get caught with cocaine.
Yeah.
They 10 and 11 years old. And if I get caught with cocaine, when I get out, they'll be retiring or retired.
If you get out.
If I got out.
If you get out.
Correct.
So the insanity of risking decades of your life over a 5 or 10% profit margin is crazy.
It is. But when you're talking to somebody that is crazy, see, I was crazy. I didn't have nothing when I got started.
Right.
You know, when I got started with, and when you're doing $100 pieces, you know, you can make more because you're breaking it down.
Yes.
So when I first bought my first 8-track, I 3 times that. That $300 got 3 times, but it was a different time. It wasn't as many people doing it. So when on the lower level, you definitely make more money on the lower end. But the higher end,
until you get to a certain level, and then suddenly your
but every time you raise up, your profit margin decreases because now you got to be wholesaling it to guys who want to make some money as well.
Exactly.
So you want wholesalers because that keeps you away from the fire. You know, the further you think, you know, when the old thinking was the further you're away from the fire, the better.
Right.
But now I know.
If they don't catch me with the product, nothing will happen.
Yeah, but now I know you might well go ahead and get in the fire yourself and get all the money because them other cats, they're going to get their money and then
tell on you.
And then they're going to tell on you.
Right. No, I mean, listen, if VladTV functioned at a 5% profit margin, we would have shut down many, many years ago. I would just say it's not a good business. And prison doesn't even come with what I'm doing. If you throw prison into the equation with a 5% profit margin.
That's how I knew. What you just said right there.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I was going to be successful. Because, see, I was willing to go to prison for what I do. I was willing to kill somebody or die for what I was doing. To sell cocaine. I knew that this stuff was on the line. Well, consciously, I didn't really know. Consciously, I would mention it, and that's why, you know, we carry pistols. Because we know that our life is on the line. Like right now, I don't carry no pistol. Mm-hmm. Because I don't have nothing on the line. I'm not putting my life on the line no more for nothing. But I knew that a person who was willing to sacrifice everything for one turn of events was a person that is hard to beat.
And you were that person.
I'm that person.
And you ended up getting life in prison over that mentality.
Yeah. But I also was able to give it back for that same mentality.
When you got out.
That's right. It was that mentality.
Well, I had a former DEA agent, Frank Panessa, here. And at the end of our interview, he wanted to talk about fentanyl. And he brought up, and I actually looked this up, the numbers are somewhat similar to what he said. He said there's roughly 100,000 overdoses a year from fentanyl. Would you say that fentanyl is the new crack?
Absolutely. Worse than crack.
Worse than crack.
Because they know people dying, but they still want it.
Do they actually know that they're taking fentanyl though? Like it seems like, and fentanyl is one of these weird chameleon drugs.
I hear people say that they request fentanyl.
Huh.
That people actually request it. Well, you know, with dope fiends, the way dope fiends work, and not trying to down nobody, and, you know, that's what they call themselves in jail, dope fiends. Mm-hmm. If they hear that somebody OD'd, that's what they all want.
Yeah, I remember when I talked to Turk, you know, who was formerly of Cash Money.
Absolutely.
Who was a dope fiend himself at one point, hooked on heroin and everything else like that. He said that's exactly the mentality. When you find out that guy overdosed and died down the street, you want to go get that batch.
Some dope fiends want the dope that the person that OD'd off. That's how crazy it is. When I was coming up, when you hear a person OD, be like, man, he just OD'd off that. We used to be like, man, where that shit at? You know what I'm saying? Like, you want that shit that nigga OD'd off of.
Yeah, because what they say is that ODing is like the closest thing you can come to death.
And the highest high you could get.
And then you come back alive, so it was all good. So, you know, they want to go as close as they can to dying, but not die.
And in the process, they usually die. or sometimes, or not, or they keep going. I don't know, man. I feel like drug addicts, man, are somehow inhuman in certain ways. Like you see guys that have been doing drugs, you know, in the 60s and 70s that are still kicking and still have the same girlfriend with them and so forth.
It's a tough ordeal.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, I mean, and he was saying how like these narco wars and everything is now going on over fentanyl. Because it's a lot easier to manufacture, right?
I don't know. I ain't looked into fentanyl. I just hear the gossip on the street. You know, I really be fixed on what I'm doing, and my life be so busy, man. Vlad, I'm all over the place right now. You know, from boxing, speaking engagements, the books. You know, I'm getting ready to launch a new website for music. I'm looking for an artist right now that I can put some money behind. You know, we getting ready to start shooting a movie. You know, I brought a couple of my partners with me today. I'll introduce to y'all.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we're gonna bring them on in a second.
That I'm working with. So I just don't have time to really get into other people's problems. I mean, and especially, you know, you're talking about something like fentanyl that has no legs, has no arms, you know, can't move. You know, somebody has to move it for people to be getting high off of it and still getting high off cocaine. It's sad, and I feel for them, but I'm going on with my life.
Well, yeah. I mean, what Frank Vanessa said that was actually kind of crazy. He said that when you look at fentanyl at a high level, what's happening is that China is so involved in this whole situation to the point where you have these big Chinese groups that are not only providing the fentanyl, but they're actually laundering money at 1%, which is unheard of. Usually laundering comes with a 10% price tag. The fact that you could give someone $1 million and get $999,000 back clean, is in a way almost a bigger problem. Because shit, who doesn't want that? You gonna tell me I can get $999,000 off my $1 million? I ain't got to pay no taxes, and I get it all in cash. You guys just hand it to me?
Yeah.
As I buy drugs from you? You kidding me? Because when you were laundering money, how much would they take?
Well, I'd launder my own money.
Oh, through your hotels and everything else like that.
I didn't have to hire nobody.
So you never went through anyone else to launder money?
I mean, I didn't have people who would you know, I bought a house, you know, for $1 bills. You know, that's a form of laundering. You know, I just knew people that was in position to take cash. You know, they wanted cash. You know, and when you're dealing with houses, you know, you set the high price for whatever you want. You know, you go buy the house. You know, I bought the house for $120. They said they sold it to me for $35.
Oh, so they got to pocket.
Yeah, they don't pay taxes because they don't want to pay taxes either.
They just pay taxes on the 35.
Right, instead of the whole
and got another 80 something in cash as profit.
And they put that in a little spot, and that's they spending money. You know?
So did you really come up with $120,000 in $1 bills?
No, $200,000 in $1.
$200,000 in $1 bills. How much space does that take up?
It take up a closet.
A whole closet.
Yeah. From
top to bottom.
I used to have one problem. I had too many ones, you know. I done had 68,000 stolen out of garage before. They I don't know how they found out they was in there, but they took a saw and cut a hole and took the whole safe out. I had one of those safes that rolled. I did some stupid stuff in my lifetime, you know, like the first safe they stole was a little bitty one. They stole it out of my bedroom. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna get a bigger safe. I'll get a safe with wheels on it.
They just rolled it out.
It was heavy, it weighed 300 pounds, but they just rolled it out. So, you know, you learn as you go. But yeah, I used to have a $1 bill problem. You know, too many. They told my mom, don't bring no more ones in here. You won't be on the investigation. That was how I used to get everybody the allowance, $1 bills. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I just interviewed this guy named Jeff Turner. He went to prison for counterfeiting over $1 million. He was actually printing up money.
Yeah.
Yep. And do you know what paper he used to actually print up the money?
What?
Bible paper. He found through trial and error that, like when you buy a Bible,
Yeah.
you know how it's got a bunch of blank pages at the end so you could take your, your notes and, Bible study and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
He would rip out that Bible paper. At one point, he even got caught stealing some at Walmart. And when they found it, they were like, "What are you doing?" And he just said, "I don't know." They just let him go.
Making the Bible lighter.
Right. So he would basically just hit up all the bookstores he possibly could, got all this Bible paper, and then he described the process. It's actually kind of interesting how a printer, like a Hewlett-Packard printer, won't actually print money. There's certain software built in where if you take a picture of a $100 bill and you try to print it, it won't actually print it. So he figured out how to print one layer first and then put it back in and then print another layer and then keep going through this process until you have the whole dollar. And then he actually found out the company who owned the copyright for that strip in the $100 bills and managed to recreate that with software.
So my next thought was to start counterfeiting again. So I kind of, spent a couple months editing these images, getting around certain features like it won't allow you to scan pictures of money, or some software won't even allow you to edit them, and printers won't allow you to print them. So I basically took a photo of a $100 bill so I could upload the photo to the computer to get around scanning it. And then to get around the printer from not printing it, I would layer the images, separate, just the background color and all the black work and the seals and serial numbers and everything. I'd break it down into multiple layers so I could print one layer at a time. That way the printer would allow me to print them. And yeah, I was looking for thin paper to sandwich two sheets together. And like I said, I knew in that book, I believe he used telephone book paper because it marked with the counterfeit pens properly. But I could just never get that to work, I guess. I tried that newsprint stuff. But it usually has a darker grayish tint to newsprint. So that's why I believe he was using a press, I think, to color it. And I was just had inkjet printers to work with at the time. So I was looking for thin paper. I come across Bible paper, which ended up being perfect in every way. So real money glows in a black light, a dull purple. Which all other papers are bleached in the manufacturing process. So it glows a bright blue, like a fluorescent blue. So I found out that some forms of Bible paper glow that dull purple just like money. And it's thin enough to sandwich two sheets together and opaque enough to where I could print a strip and a watermark on the back of one side, sandwich them together, and you couldn't see the strip and watermark through the face of the bill, but you could see it if I held it up to the light. You know what I mean?
And essentially, he just kept making $100 bills.
If he goes through all that, he's a genius.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have to do no counterfeiting. He should just sold his geniusness.
Right. Well, he was also a drug addict at the time.
Okay.
Right.
That explains.
That
explains the whole deal then.
There you go. He was also a drug addict at the time, and he was using the money to pay for drugs. The drug dealers eventually found out, and then when they found out, they wanted to. It was so close that they just was they weren't even mad.
They were mad at him.
They wanted some of these counterfeit dollars, $100
When I used to
bills
get counterfeit money, I'd be mad as hell.
Nah, they weren't mad.
One time they hit me with $35,000 in one day in the counterfeit money. I was so pissed because I didn't know who did it.
Might have been this guy. No, I mean,
No,
this was before his time. I'm joking. No, but I'm saying when they finally caught him in his hotel room, one of the drug dealers he was dealing with ended up snitching on him, and, they found the whole operation. They found all the printers and everything else like that. And it was like a multi, it was like the feds and the DA and the police and whatever else. After arresting him, they said that his money was the most realistic they'd ever seen, that he agreed for them to bring in a whole camera crew and show them how he did everything in exchange for like an 8-month sentence or something like that.
But they don't carry that much time anyway. They be light on them white collar criminals.
Yeah, white collar crime seems like it's kind of slap on the wrist a lot of times.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty light.
Yeah,
I met a lot of them in the joint that got away with a lot of money, or stole a lot of money. They didn't get away with it, but
yeah. I mean,
we thought they got away with it.
I mean, I interviewed the Wolf of Wall Street, who was responsible for millions and millions and millions of dollars.
The weed dealers. We used to think the weed dealers was getting off light.
Nah, the white collar guys.
No. Yeah, they got off the lightest.
Like I said earlier, you beat your Fed case. You got it reversed.
Yep.
Murder Inc. Beat their Fed case. And NBA Youngboy, which is one of the biggest rappers in the world right now, he ended up beating a federal gun case.
I didn't hear about that.
You didn't hear about that?
Mm-mm.
He got pulled over and they basically found a gun in his back seat. And by employing the best lawyers that money could buy, he ultimately ended up beating that case. I think he's got another gun case pending, I think Louisiana or something like that.
Was it his car?
I believe so. It was like a Maybach. Maybach truck, I think, or something like that. It was his car. He managed to beat it. How? But I mean,
Interesting.
it is interesting because the feds, 98% conviction rate.
Yeah.
How many people do you personally know of? Well, how many people do you personally know that beat a Fed case?
Probably about 3.
3 people. Okay.
That totally walked. They didn't do no time.
No time.
Just the time that they was in detention. You know,
Right.
They won their cases at trial. About 3.
Okay. Are these big names at all or not really?
Chico Brown.
Oh, this is your guy.
Yeah, Chico won.
He's out now.
Yeah.
Okay, so your guy that worked, he worked under you?
No, we was together.
He was your partner?
Yeah, he was my partner on my last deal.
Okay. He beat a Fed case.
Mm-hmm.
How did he beat it?
I don't know the details to it.
Okay.
You got to call him in. He probably come talk to you.
Let's do the interview. Let's call him in.
I'll set it up for you.
Yeah, let's set it up. I want to hear about
you
it.
never want to interview nobody I recommend. This is the first time.
Well, no, that's not true. I want to interview that one doctor you recommended to me, and he ended up bailing on us. So you can't say that. Can't say that.
No, you're right. You're
Yep.
right. With so many people, man, tell Vlad. I'll be like, man, Vlad, I ain't gonna interview y'all.
Well, people approach us for crazy shit. Yeah, I'm the sister of the brother who did the thing, and
Yeah.
like, man,
I'm
the cousin.
No, I get it. You gotta be selective. You know.
Yeah, I gotta be selective.
Otherwise, your show will be with nonsense.
Exactly. And you know 2 other people to beat their Fed case.
Do I?
Well, you just mentioned. You said 3 people.
Michael McLaurin is one. I'm trying. Who else? I don't know nobody else right offhand. Just say 2.
2 people.
Yeah.
So the other guy, how did he beat his Fed case?
I lied for him. I told him he didn't know what was in the car. I threw him the keys, told him to drive. He was a mechanic, and he was just testing the car out for me.
Okay. But you end up going to prison for that.
Yeah, what the jury, what the prosecutor told the jury was that I don't believe Mr. Ross, first of all, because he's known this guy for 20 years, is one of his best friends, and there's no way that this guy didn't know it was dope in that car. But if you believe Mr. Ross and his guy really didn't know it was dope in the car, then Mr. Ross is a piece of shit. So put him in prison for the rest of his life. And that's what they did.
But your friend walked.
Yeah, he walked.
Is he still alive?
No, he died. He died while I was gone.
Huh. Well, at least he died out of prison.
Yeah.
How heavily involved was he?
He was one of the ones that talked me into doing the deal.
Aha. Why did you speak on his behalf like that?
Because my lawyer told me that I was through, that I wasn't going home no matter what.
So you might as well just help out your friends.
Yep.
So there's nothing you could do at that point to try to lessen your sentence.
Nope.
So you might as well just do the right thing and help out. Well, you know.
I didn't know the jury was going to be sympathetic to me. You know, they hung the jury, stayed out for 2 days. And one of the jurors, she cried even when they gave the statement.
Huh.
They said they thought about letting me go. Because they didn't like the idea that I just got out of prison and the government is chasing me. You know, putting a carrot in front of me. Want to see the dope fiend come out of me, you know, because when you sell that dope, you become a dope fiend too. You be addicted to the rush and all the things that come with, you know, having 100 kilos of cocaine in your possession. So you know, they played on that. And I think the jury, and that was my argument, that they played on that. They played on my crutch. You know, the one thing that when things were going bad, that I could always turn to make my life better.
Well, do you know the story about Fetty Wap?
Nope.
So Fetty Wap, 2014, 2015, was one of the biggest rappers in the world.
I remember Fetty Wap, yeah.
Trap Queen was a mega hit. And that album, which I'm sure went at least platinum, if not multi-platinum, had a string of hits. This guy was just a hit maker.
Everywhere you go, he was like Drake is now.
He was like Drake is now at that time. And I remember, you know, because we were covering him during that time, there was videos where he's literally on his balcony tossing money out the window. There's a video where he gave his man, a BMW i8 just for being loyal. You know, had a bunch of kids with a bunch of different women, bunch of baby mothers. But over time,
he was that man.
But over time, the hits started to slow down and so forth. And right now, Fetty Wap and 5 co-defendants are accused of conspiring to possess and distribute more than 100 kilograms of heroin, fentanyl, and crack cocaine.
You lying.
Between June 2019.
I saw Fetty Wap on Instagram the other day.
You did not see him personally on Instagram the other day. You may have seen some old footage. Yes.
That dude was selling.
Between June of 2019 and June 2020. The scheme involved using the U.S. Postal Service and cars with hidden compartments to move drugs from the West Coast to Long Island, where they were stored in distribution to dealers on Long Island and to New Jersey.
Wow, that's sad.
He has pled guilty. He is awaiting sentencing. He actually was out on bail. He was on a $500,000 bond. But then there was a video that came out where he was threatening to kill a man on FaceTime, which violated his
supervised release.
His supervised release. What he pled guilty to has a minimum sentence of 5 years, but they're likely to recommend another 2 years.
So 7 years.
He did this to actually spare himself from a potential life sentence if he was actually convicted on all the charges.
Smart. 7 over life, yeah. Good deal.
It's just crazy to me how someone of that caliber, you are a certified hit maker. You have songs, you have a catalog. You may not be hot right now, but you know how music goes.
Those guys depend too much on the labels, though. You know, when the labels...
Yeah, he was signed to I believe 300, same label as Young Thug.
Yeah, when those labels don't give you the budget to do your music, then you be stuck. You know, that's so many of these guys, you know, that's why this record business is so damn fake, man. You know, the whole scenario of it is so fake because these guys are playing like bosses and they're really dependent on this record label to come in and do all that stuff for them. You know, Freddie Wap should have had enough money to do his own record. You know, when you reach that level, you're supposed to take some of that money and tuck it. But what's happening is that our people don't tuck none of their money. They take the money and just like you say, throw it over the balcony and give it to the homeboy for being loyal, and find itself back in that same position.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I remember when I first started making money at 25, 26, I blew it all. I went broke. I get it. You need that. You almost need that sting of being able to lose it all and seeing how hard it is to get it back. You know, like The Richest Man in Babylon. That was one of the stories in there. Like,
you read that book?
Of course I read that book. Of course, before we met. Before we ever met. I remember the story about the father was the king and the son, how instead of essentially giving all the gold to a son, he gave him a little bit of gold and said, go figure it out and go wander for a couple of years and figure it out.
Gave him the clay tablets of wisdom.
And the son ended up fucking the money off and losing it and getting ripped off. But over time, he kind of figured out what to do with it.
He went back to the clay tablets.
Uh-huh.
And then when he went back and paid his dad, he gave him back 4 bags of gold and said, this is how much I appreciate your gold.
Yep.
And then he gave him 10 bags of gold for the clay tablets. So basically, he told his dad that the clay tablets was worth 2 times what your gold was worth. Your gold was valuable. Your gold had value to me, but your wisdom outweighed your money.
Yeah.
So that was a lesson in that story, is that your wisdom is much more valuable than the gold, and that's what we got to get today. Our people got to understand that the wisdom is more valuable than the gold, but they keep valuing the gold.
No, listen, absolutely. When I went broke, now I didn't have millions, but I had, hundreds of thousands during that era. And it all came crashing down, and I ended up homeless, and I ended up sleeping on couches. And it took me a decade to get back to where I was before. It took me a whole decade of working from the very bottom, from a totally new industry, from a mixtape DJ to doing documentaries to eventually figuring out to VladTV. But I remember I said, I am never going to fuck off my money again. I am never going to assume that this money I have right now is going to keep coming at this pace.
Well, that's the problem we having right now. Everybody done fuck that PP money off.
Man, that PPP money.
And it fucked them up.
Oh yeah. I interviewed one of the Baby Blue from Pretty Ricky. Went to prison. Is in prison right now over a PPP loan that he bought Ferraris with and the such.
Wow.
It was too easy to get it. It was, and then I remember my friend broke it down how what they would do is I guess they would issue cards and you could take out up to $1,000 a day with these PPP basically debit cards, and it got to the point where like some of the luxury stores were like putting up signs that say we don't take cash, because a lot of the guys with the PPP money were just taking that money, stacking it up, and then going buy Gucci and Louis Vuitton with it. To the point where that's why, remember how, you used to be able to go, I mean, now you can again, but during that time, you couldn't go into the store. You'd have to wait in a long line and have a person escort you through and everything else like that. Yeah, a lot of people went to prison over that shit. And are still going to go to prison over that shit. We never touched it. We felt like, okay, this seems like a loaded game here.
Yeah. Well, that's what's got the streets fucked up right now, because they ain't got that money no more, and they had a taste of it, and they want it again.
Yeah. And now they're going into armed robberies and the stuff that'll really get you time. Well, another rapper actually just got arrested over a RICO case, a battle rapper named Sue Surf. I interviewed him a bunch of years ago. He was indicted by the feds for his alleged involvement with a criminal gang enterprise with the Rolling 60s Crips. He's being charged with conspiracy and possession of firearms and ammunition by a convicted felon. 9 other people are charged with the indictment, with charges from carjacking, drug possession, and drug distribution. One of the things they're saying he assisted in a shooting against a rival Crip gang member in 2017. But they're also saying that he uses Instagram to set up an MMDA drug deal.
I don't know what that is.
MMDA is, hold on a second. It's a drug. It's a psychedelic drug. I think Casanova 2 times, who pled guilty to a RICO case as well, they got him over Instagram DMs and text messages and the such. it's crazy how, and listen, I hope that he ends up walking away from all this. I hope this whole thing is bullshit and, he could go home and get back to his music career and get back to his family. But things are tracked so carefully these days. Like one text message, one DM, not only are they going to get you for that, but they'll go and triangulate your position to show that not only did you send it, but we can confirm that you were there when you sent it. So you can't even say, oh, someone took my phone.
Right. Yeah, the evidence that they can use now is especially if you're using these phones, is crazy.
Because during the 80s, that's when cell phones were first coming out.
Yeah. Didn't many people have them, though.
Right. This was the beeper era.
Yeah.
This was the pull-out radio era. Remember that?
Yep. We still had phones, phone booths on the street. I can remember pulling up on phone booths all over the place, just pulling over, jumping.
Yeah, no, right. You get a page, then you go to a public phone booth, you put in a quarter, and you call the person that paged you with whatever code they sent you. And although it was cumbersome and and so forth, it was a whole lot safer than
if you commit crime, yeah. If you commit crime.
For crimes.
Yeah, for criminals, yeah. The phone booth was much better for criminals.
Right. Because there was no cameras around.
No, it wasn't cameras back then. It was, it was conducive for a criminal that's selling drugs. It was more conducive than if you got, we started using cell phones, though. For us, cell phones was pretty convenient, because when we first got them, you could get the burnouts, so it wouldn't be tied to you. And I don't know, but they had a way when I got indicted, they found all those phones too. They found all those numbers and they had all the numbers that I'd ever called. So they was pretty sufficient in about tracking your activity.
Were they actually tapping the lines though?
No. They just somehow they came up with the phone numbers because I thought because I was using burnouts that they didn't know the phone numbers because I didn't know the phone numbers. They had guys that used to could take your little NEC phones in and give them to them, and they would program it where it would just work for like 90 days or something. And you think, oh, this phone number is not attached to me, and then I get rid of the number before I ever get arrested. But they still was able to come up with all of those phone numbers that I had. Is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so they didn't record the phone calls, but they could say on this date, Rick called this person.
Right.
He talked for 3 minutes.
Exactly.
And this proves the conspiracy because this person was arrested around the same time doing this. So therefore, here you go. We don't have the conversation. We don't have the text messages, but
we got circumstantial
evidence. Right, because did they ever actually, ultimately, what you got convicted for, did they actually catch you with anything, or is it all hearsay, circumstantial?
Well, the drugs, they were providing the drugs. The government had the drugs. We were going to buy the drugs from the government. So technically, they caught us with drugs, but they provided the drugs. And they was providing the drugs on credit, too, partial credit. It was, I don't know, man. That stuff's confusing to me. I hate to even talk about that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff, that just, I don't know, it was a difficult time in my life.
Well, I recently interviewed, I mentioned him before, Frank Panessa. He was a DEA agent. And he brought down something called the Pizza Connection. The Pizza Connection was a drug operation that moved $1.7 billion of heroin from Sicily into the U.S. And it primarily moved into pizza restaurants owned by the mob. Hundreds of them.
I heard about when they got busted. I remember that bus. I may even run across some of those guys in prison.
A lot of them got arrested.
Yeah.
A lot of them got indicted.
I'm sure that I have run across some in prison. I do remember, it would have been so long, man. It's been a long time, Vlad.
Well, no, I mean, this happened, I believe, in the 80s. 84. No, the trial happened in 87.
Okay, that's right, during the same time I went to prison.
Right. And But what's crazy about this is he talked about how he actually infiltrated the system. And the way it worked was, and he basically got the go-ahead from Giuliani during the time, right? Mm-hmm. And he started to infiltrate the mafia. And they busted 2 guys from the Philly mob. When they brought him in and wanted them to cooperate, they said they wouldn't cooperate against their own, Italians.
Right.
And they're like, well, we want to get the Sicilians. And they're like, yeah, sure. They're not one of us. No problem. So they brought him into a meeting with these high-ranking Sicilians. They called them Zips. They essentially, the Italian mafia would bring in these guys from Sicily to do all the dirty work for them. These guys were all murderers and everything else like that. When they brought this guy in, they introduced him as a friend of ours, meaning that he's a made man.
Right.
And he bought over $1 million worth of heroin from them. Nobody ever questioned.
Yeah, but that's pretty easy to do in the drug business. Most of my customers, one of my friends brought them to me. And you know somebody and you trust their judgment and you feel like that they have your best interest at heart. But sometimes, that's how they get everybody. Somebody gets a little greedy and, he meets somebody that got some money and maybe he didn't check them out all the way, he's just looking at, he's gonna make a quick buck and boom, there you have it. The guy's inside the organization.
So how do you do
Remember
that?
Remember the guy, what's the name, who almost got me like that? From St. Louis that I told you about in our early interviews. That guy called me too after I did the interview here.
Refresh my memory on this.
His name is Chambers. What's his last name? I can't think of his name. Remember I told you he's like a super cop. He's like a super informant for blacks. He mostly arrests black. He's a black guy out of St. Louis.
Oh yeah, you told me about this, right?
Yeah, Andrew Chambers, that's his name, Andrew Chambers. He called me one day after I did the interview with you. He called me from an unknown number talking about, hey man, I want to get with you.
To do what? Snitch on me again?
Man, my partner is like, well, he came by my house with somebody one day, right? But for some reason, I didn't answer the phone. That was my lucky day. I didn't answer the phone, and he wound up not being able to make that connection. But he called about 3 or 4 of my other friends who wound up doing deals with him because he knew how to play the game so well.
Okay, so let's bring up the scenario. We're gonna rewind back. Your Freeway Ricky, the drug kingpin during that time. One of your friends, let's say Chico, right? Chico calls you up and say, hey, listen, I got this guy named Vlad, and he wants to buy $100,000 worth of cocaine from us. I'm going to, bring him in for a dinner meeting, just the 3 of us.
Well, more than likely, what he's going to say, man, this dude is like my brother. He's from such and such a state. This is what they're doing. Every now and then I would do a little more research on the guys, but if it was somebody that there was a high ranker that that moved a lot of weight, I take his word that he did his homework, and I probably would let the guy in.
Would you ever do any sort of background check on me? Would you run my name through?
No, I would usually, what I would do is go by your spots. I would go by and see where your spots is at, and look at the traffic that's coming out.
Well, let me tell you, we went into this whole conversation with the DEA agent. It got so sophisticated that, for example, he said, okay, we're going to run this through a factory I have in Germany. They flew to Germany and the DEA actually had a whole factory with his name on it. And they had trucks with the name of the company that he said.
Oh, they played them all. They played them. But they was major. Yeah,
yes, we're talking about billion plus.
Yeah.
He spent over $1 million in drug buys.
That sounds like a movie to me.
It should be a movie.
You gotta give me his number. Give me his number.
I'll hook you guys up.
Yeah, hook us up.
I'll hook you up. I just interviewed him. He's an older guy. He's about in his 80s at this point.
They hooked me up with him. I like that story.
I got you. I got you. And once the trial hit, because what the guy they got was the head of the Sicilian mob, right? And his nephew was his main guy in the United States. He flew out to meet him in Spain, And then that's when they nabbed him. They nabbed everybody, right? The nephew was on trial also as being part of this major drug conspiracy. As his nephew started the testimony process, he was walking with his wife in New York. 3 guys showed up and shot him in the back of the head. They had to sequester the jury, put him in hotels. Like, this is the craziness around this trial. Defendants, not witnesses, defendants are being murdered in the course of the actual trial.
Wow.
That's how
I remember it was big.
It was big.
I remember
right. It was so
big.
long ago that people don't really remember it.
Yeah. Our memories are short now.
Yeah.
We got that 5-second memory. If I didn't see it like 5 seconds ago, I don't remember it.
Now, listen, I remember when I interviewed DeAndre Bonds, the actor, who's actually in Snowfall, a show you don't like very much. But I remember we were talking about the YSL case, and he got a little upset. He's like, this is bullshit. 28 black men being arrested for the same thing. When do you ever see that with white people? And I'm like, the mafia. He's like, oh, yeah. You're right. Can't argue that fact.
26 black people on one case?
28.
28. Come on, man. When have they indicted 28 white people?
The mafia.
Oh, yeah. But they had to. They were seeing like 28
Shut
people.
That down right there,
28 people just knocked off 100 people. We got to get these.
Were you locked up with a lot of these mafia guys?
Yep.
What makes the mafia guys different from other gangs?
They don't really get into stuff in jail. They stay to themselves. And, most prisons, the guys who are running is usually the blacks and the Mexicans.
Just because of the numbers.
Right, the numbers are stronger. And
yeah.
Those guys are willing to do almost, when you're talking about mafia guys, they're usually older guys. They want to play poker all day and, get some wine and just chill out. The younger guys, they run around the prison, tearing shit up.
Okay. How do the mafia guys stay safe, though, from extortion and so forth?
Well, I mean, in the feds, it's not really that much extortion, like you might think. There's only 1 or 2 guys because everybody in there is about money. You don't have like petty robbers and dope fiends. You get some dope fiends, the bank robbers, they're usually dope fiends.
Okay.
But for the most part, you're talking about a more sophisticated criminal.
Okay. In the state, it's worse?
Oh, definitely. The state is worse because the state got petty, car thieves, traffic tickets, murderers, robbers. You're not going to have your average robber inside of a federal prison.
Yeah. I interviewed this guy named Banky Pound recently. He's got a YouTube channel now. At 19 years old, he was involved in a robbery that ended up becoming a murder. And he ended up doing 33 years in prison over that. His friend was the one that actually pulled the trigger, but then, his friend said he was the trigger man, and you know how these things go. And he said something that really kind of stuck to me. He said that in 33 years, he did not have a single good day in prison. Some days were not as bad as others, but he can't look back at that time and say, I had a good day on this particular day.
I tell people all the time, in 33 years, man, over 12,345 plus days straight, I never had a good day in prison. Not one. I might have had days that wasn't as bad as others, but never can say I had a good day.
Would you agree?
No, I had good days. I had great days in prison.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of my plans and my thoughts. And you read the article in LA Magazine?
Yeah.
You don't remember that article?
No, I read the article. Which part are you talking about?
I put a plan together while I was there.
Yeah. Well, you learn how to read and you actually use the time.
Yeah, and I came up with a book, a novel. I knew I could take over boxing from there. I knew I could do a movie from there.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I was going to be going to colleges speaking and high schools, and I saw all that from prison. It all come from, prison. I did stuff in prison that I couldn't accomplish on the street. No way that I could do it, I got down to 7% body fat, you know, was ripped up. Became a vegan while I was there. Met some great people. You know, with some great people inside of prison. So I totally can agree that I didn't have any good days in prison. You know, sometimes I be in prison wishing I had a couple more hours. Like, damn, I wish I had 24 more hours, another 10 hours a day. You know, I mean, some of the same problems I have right now on the street. You know, I don't have enough time. I mean, it'd be hard for somebody. You think about it, time. A guy wants more time in prison, right?
Yeah, sounds kind of crazy, but
I did. I
did,
actually
yeah.
wanted more time while I was in prison.
Right, because you're 62 years old right now.
Don't
Do you
be
think
telling everybody that?
Okay,
I'm messing with you. No,
all right,
lady.
we'll
I'm
leave it
messing with you.
Do you
I'm
think you'd
messing-
still be illiterate at 62 if you never went to prison?
Probably so.
Probably so.
Yeah. I never, see, what I found out about my literacy was I never valued reading. I didn't understand that reading had a value.
Yeah, I mean, like when Kanye West said, "I never read books." You know, books are like Brussels sprouts to me.
Yeah,
It's like
he doesn't have a reason.
It just sounds stupid to me.
But for somebody who doesn't have a reason to learn how to read or to make the time to read, then it's understandable. I understand because I was one of those guys that just reading a book didn't make sense to me. But if they'd have told me that it was money in them books, that I could learn how to make money in them books, I think I would have looked at it totally different. Because that's why books have so much value to me, you know, because I chase money and success, and I want a legacy, and you know, all that other stuff that go with, you know, being great. I'm chasing all that.
Well, the guy your plug that told on you, Oscar Blandon, he's 71 years old now. Is he still alive?
No, from last I heard, yeah.
Do you think you'll ever talk to him again?
He wants me to pay him $75,000.
Wait, what?
He wants me to pay him $75,000 to talk to me. I've been trying to talk to him, but he wants me to pay $75,000.
He wants you to pay, the guy who put you in prison for life wants $75,000 for a conversation.
Yep.
The nerve.
I want to give it to him.
You would give it to him.
Yeah, as soon as I get my money, probably like January, February, I'm gonna give it to him.
Wait. You gonna pay this guy $75,000?
Yeah, because I got some questions I want to ask him.
You think he's gonna answer you?
That's gonna be the deal.
For $75,000?
$75,000, you ask everything I ask you, answer it.
Do you know
Truthfully, and honestly.
Do you know where he's located? Like what state?
Yeah, I can get him. I got him for the documentary. When we did the documentary, one of my guys went over there and got him.
He did an interview on the
He
documentary.
didn't interview though. No, he wouldn't interview.
That's what I was gonna say.
But he's gonna give me the $75,000. The cameras are gonna be rolling, and you know I get to do all that.
Oh man, that's not gonna hurt to pay that man $75,000.
No, I'm gonna be glad to give it to him. And I can do whatever I want to with the footage.
Yeah, I don't know. You're a bigger man than I am. I don't think I'd be able to pull that off.
That's easy for me. Because there ain't no hard feelings.
You know, because, you know, I've talked about this a bunch of times before. The epiphany that I had, you know, like the story that I've told about buying the kilo of cocaine for $17,000 from the guy that I thought was my friend and him ripping me off for it. You know, you told me in our interview that had he not ripped me off, I might be in prison right now.
Absolutely.
For a kilo of cocaine.
No, for maybe 10 kilos of cocaine. Or 20.
Because I would have built up.
Or 100.
Right.
Or maybe you'd be sitting there with 1,000.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, I was so angry all these years about this guy ripping me off and me running into him at one point, him telling me he's going to pay me back and whatever else, that once our conversation happened and you were like, man, you avoided going to prison, Vlad. And I'm like, oh, you're right. And $17,000 to me ain't shit right now. But I could tell you, if that man said, hey, I'm going to have a conversation with you and do an interview for $17,000.
It doesn't give you any value.
I'll tell him to go fuck himself.
But he doesn't bring any value.
I might go do the interview and get him fucked up afterwards. You know what I mean?
But he doesn't bring any value to you. Danilo brings a lot of value. He hasn't spoke to anybody. Nobody's ever heard him speak. So for me to get him to speak, and he speak freely and openly about all the things that went on with him, would only enhance my story and I think that people would watch that.
Who came up with the $75,000 number? Was it a negotiation?
He did.
He just said 75,000.
Yeah, because he said, I know what you're gonna do with it. So he knows me really well. I missed one interview with Ivan, the guy I bought my first ounce from, because fucking Mark Lebanon was too fucking cheap to get him $20,000. He only wanted $20,000, man. He sat there and told us some stories, laying in that bed paralyzed. He was telling him how green I was. And to me, that was like fascinating. Tell it. He was an infant. He couldn't talk. He was barely walking. I taught him how to do this. He was just telling him how he groomed me into the business and how he saw me blossoming. And for me, that was fascinating to me, you know, because I don't remember how I came into the game. I knew I started with Ali. We started with $125, but for somebody else to be saying, you know, like, oh, he really didn't know cocaine. Yeah. You know, I used to do this to him with the cocaine. He was too dumb to even know that I did it. You know, for me, that's like, damn, that's like some fascinating stuff to me. You know, I don't know. But for me, I would pay $75,000 for that. Well,
if you decide to do it, let me know. Maybe I'll chip into some of that. You know, maybe we could do a joint interview.
You've been wanting to do something with me anyway, so maybe we can do that together.
Maybe.
All right.
Maybe. I'll chip in on that. I don't mind chipping in, but then again, this man didn't put me in prison, so I don't have that same emotional...
And I don't care about money anyway. I'm finna have so much money. Next year, I'll be playing with about 15 million. They think I'm doing good right now. Wait till next year come. Next year I'm popping them. My credit stuff been like, just like gelling. You know, I got 2 people right now. No, wait a minute. I probably got 4 people that I done made millionaires.
Okay. That's what's up.
And I'm finna do it myself now. I've been, you know, I've been living off my credit cards, you know, all this time. You know, when people see my books, you know, I went and bought all my books with credit cards. Went and bought $10,000 worth of books. Because for me, that was investment. Yeah. For all y'all who don't know, when you take your credit card, invest it. Don't go buy a new TV set. I didn't buy a TV set. I bought books. So my credit has been used to forward my movement, and I couldn't take my personal credit and do the things that I knew I should be doing because I was using it to live off of, so my cards be too high and all that stuff. But now I got everything down, and I think by January, I should be playing with like $1 million, maybe $2 million, and then I'm gonna start flexing my muscles a little bit. You know.
Well, speaking of muscles flexing, you brought a couple people with you today.
I did.
And let's bring in the first person. All right. So one of the people you brought in today is one of your boxers. Yeah. Anthony Peterson.
Yes, sir.
Man, I love this dude, man. Anthony is he's so old school, you know, like his spirit is old school and you know, when I first met him, you know, it was just like, you know, another boxer, you know, but as we started to talk on the phone and I started to hear his story and just the whole thing was just like drew me in, and then his genuineness, because you know, I do some bad things sometimes, but I look at myself as a genuine person. I try to be genuine with as many people as I can, because I believe that being genuine is what people are looking for. It's a thing that we can't find. You know, you can't find people who really honestly do what they say they're gonna do and say what they're gonna do. You know, usually they tell you something and it's really to throw you off so that they can get from you what they're trying to get, and once they get it, they're gone. You know, like a turkey behind some corn. But you know, with Anthony, it's just a little different. You know, this dude got a different magnetism to itself that I just fell in love with, man. And
Appreciate that, Rick.
I really like this dude, man.
Okay. And you're actually a junior welterweight.
Yes, sir.
You were boxing for how long?
28 years now.
28
years I've been boxing. Professional, 18.
18.
Yeah, I made my debut September 25th of 2004 when Roy Jones fought Glenn Johnson.
Okay. Okay, and how old are you?
I'm 37.
Okay. And you're trying to get to a championship level, but you haven't actually gotten a shot yet.
Facts.
And why is that?
Just the way boxing goes. You know, a lot of people don't understand that boxing is it's not a national commission. Whereas though I can appeal to somebody like, look, I'm not fighting for a championship. It's like, it's all different commissioners. Kentucky, Baltimore, New York, all of them have different commissioners. So the NBA, NFL, and the rest of the organization, the key word is the N-word, national organization. Boxing don't have that. So I can appeal to Kentucky commissioner. They be like, okay, well, we still got California, we still got Texas. So it's like, it's no real, like, how can I say this? Like with the Colin Kaepernick situation, where it was a national stage where what happened to him. But me, like I said, if it's not DC pulling for me, then it's nothing at all.
Got it. And you were actually supposed to have a major fight, but then something happened to the promoter's dad.
Yes, the October 1st, I was supposed to have performed in DC, but one of my guys, my best friend, actually, buddy, he was killed in DC. Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, well, you're in good hands right here.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, you know, when I looked at boxing and what he was saying about it not having a national organization that governs it, and it kind of, it's a double-edged sword because it allows guys like me to come into the game, you know, where there's nobody that can say that I ain't in the game. You know, if Ant agrees to work with me, you know, and allow me to advise him or manage him or however, then now I'm a franchise player. You know, I got
exactly.
I got a team that we working with. So on some aspects, it's a good thing, but then by not having a government body, so these guys, say for instance like Ant is a high risk fighter. For any of those guys got the belts. Now I don't care who they are. They would be worried about losing to Ant. So we have to create a value in Ant to where now these guys are getting some benefit out of it.
Right.
Because if they're not getting any benefit out of it, then they don't want to fight a guy that they might lose to.
Right.
You know, boxing is not like, you know, you would think it is where, like saying basketball, the best guys want to play against the best guys, you know. In tennis, you want to play against the best. Well, boxing is more about how much money can I make and how can I stay undefeated.
It's marketing.
Right.
I look at boxing as a pure marketing sport. If this fight here could draw a crowd and make money, it doesn't matter how many wins or losses either person has.
Right.
Am I right?
Right.
That's
With
right.
that?
Absolutely right.
Which is why you've seen Jake Paul get to the heights of where he is.
Correct.
He was a YouTuber,
Yeah.
but he's got a hell of a marketing machine behind him.
Yeah, and then with me, it's
And
hard to sell me because, like I said, my life considered to the boxing world is boring. I don't drive expensive cars. I don't have any kids or a child support agency chasing me, or I don't go on YouTube and knock people out for, you know, world star videos and stuff like that. So it's pretty much like I stay to myself, very humble. Work ethic is off the chain, and I'm just real cool. So that's in boxing though, they don't want to hear that. They want to hear something that that's going to sell to make people want to buy your tickets to come see you fight.
Well, the same thing like the rap music.
Yeah,
You know, they want, you know, did you get caught with a pistol? You know, if you get caught with a pistol, you'll be all over the news. Oh, Anthony Peterson got caught with a pistol. If you hit a girl or a woman or
anything
like that,
tabloids.
then they're gonna write about it. But when you do good stuff like Ant does the same stuff I do, goes out and talk to kids at school,
High school, junior high school,
goes to senior citizen home and help out, you know, all the stuff that a person should do. And then Ant them got a backstory too. You know, he was homeless one time too.
Yeah, from a mother, 12, same mother and father. There's 12 of us in all.
Wow.
My brother Lamar Peterson is a 2-time world champion.
Oh, okay.
He fought Earl Spence, Danny Garcia, Timothy Bradley. He fought them all. I mean, we came out together, but like I said, it was kind of hard to put me in the mix because people just didn't want to fight me because they were like, oh, it's a risk that you would take, but the reward wasn't high. You know what I mean? So you want to,
Right. It's like a no-win.
Right. You want to make a lot of money
big
fighting
name
me.
boxer to fight you. Yeah,
Exactly.
And then he done sparred with most of them too. You know?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, I remember when I interviewed Buster Douglas, you know, we talked about what led up to the Mike Tyson fight. what some people don't know was that fight was in Japan because no American promoter wanted to take it on. They felt that no one was going to come see this unknown guy named Buster Douglas fight Mike Tyson. They couldn't fill a big arena, so they had to take it to Japan. The odds were so stacked against Buster Douglas winning that it was just a filler fight until he got to fight Holyfield. Lo and behold, he ends up doing the biggest upset in sports history when he beat Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
But at that time, as big as Mike Tyson was, he couldn't get a single arena in America to take on that fight because the guy he was fighting was a total unknown, Buster Douglas. So it almost sounds like a similar kind of situation
for sure.
where you may have the skill level to fight some of these top guys, but they can't fill up an arena because of your name, unfortunately.
Exactly.
Yeah?
That's what it is. But, of course, working with Rick now and met like 7 different celebrities. Like we go to Dallas or wherever we go, everybody know this guy's like having a pink elephant in my pocket. You know what I mean? So I don't have to do all the extra curricular activities and antics outside of boxing to make my name, bigger than what it is. My social media got bigger since, we've started doing business. So it's definitely getting there.
Right. And you actually learned about Freeway Rick Ross by watching VladTV interviews.
Exactly.
So it's all kind of full circle.
I'm a big VladTV fan because I'm a big Tupac fan. I know a lot of Tupac stories was on Vlad, so I would go watch VladTV to hear Tupac story. And I saw a guy said Rick Ross. I'm like, hold up, I know a rapper named Rick Ross. Who is this dude? So I tuned into it, and I'm like, oh, like my bad. I didn't know, but I actually laughed at it. But next thing you know, now we sitting right here together.
Well, I always told you though, Vlad, one of the reasons that I really, every time you call me, I do your shows because I know so many young black guys, man, they watch your show and they tell me how much information that they're getting from, they didn't say no other show, but when I talk, like, man, every time you speak, you always giving up some game, and you sincere with what you do. And I know that I don't have nowhere else that I can get the word out like this here. It be that back and forth, but I also understand, guys like Ant learn about me from you. And for me, it's more valuable for me to have them to understand what I do and how I'm operating because that gives them an opportunity to know that there's some other ways that I don't have to keep going the same way, because Ant gonna be a millionaire outside of the ring before he become a millionaire in the ring.
Because I am into acting and modeling as well. If I keep my shirt on, trust me. I told you I was 37, but my next birthday, I'll be 18 up under here. Trust me.
There we go. There we go. Okay, and you brought in another guy today. You brought in movie and music video director Mike Ho, and you guys are actually working on a movie project together.
Absolutely. The movie.
The movie.
The movie. Ain't but one movie that's the movie in my eyes. I mean, everybody else got their own picks, but I got one movie that I've been working on for about 35 years now. Man, the late George Jackson, me and him was working on it for a little while. But anyway, man, I'm in Detroit, right? And just crazy, I was shooting a low budget movie in Detroit. Some guys had got me to be in their movie. And then I'm sitting on the couch in my hotel room and I'm relaxing and I get a call, man. I answer the call and I was like, hello? Because I answer all my numbers, because I told y'all somebody owed me $10 million. I don't know who they was. This might be that guy. So I pick up the phone and I was like, yeah, hello? And he was like, hi, Rick? And I was like, yeah. I was like, who this? And he said, Mike. I said, Mike who? He said, Mike Ho, I just got finished talking to Reginald Hutton and he told me that I can direct your movie if you okay it. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh yeah? So we talked for a little while. I just chitter-chattering about life. And I said, man, let me meet you when I get back to LA. We'll meet, right? Yeah. So we go to dinner at Crossroads. And just like 2 days later, we meet. And 2 days after we talk on the phone, I'm in Detroit. I'm like, I'll be flying back in LA. We're going to go sit down. So we go sit down, man. And this guy come to the table, man. He pulls out his laptop and he just goes running my life down to me. I'm like, hold up, man, you just got hired 2 days ago and you did all this shit that you did, man. I said, man.
Crash course right there, man.
I'm impressed. I said, man, you my guy.
Yeah.
And I just been excited, and then once I saw all of the work that he's done, and just saw the benefits that he's gonna bring to the table. I was just like, man, Reggie, I want that guy. I want him bad.
I appreciate you, man. No, when his script, when his story fell on my desk, I mean, it's Freeway, right? So, I've been in transition to the narrative space for a long time. I've done a lot of body of work, thanks to God for all the artists that, trust me with the vision to do the work that I've done. And, when his story fell on my desk, it was a transitional period of sense of like, well, I wanted to do something that was impactful in film. I got one of my first movies, action is great, but there's something about true stories and especially his story that I feel like just never been told the right way. And I told him, and he feels the same way. And I said, well, what was the first thing that I said when I sat down with him? Was like, if we're going to tell your story, we got to be unsafe. Because I feel like when everyone approaches something with him, even when whether it's a show that, he's not happy with, of course, all the things that you hear about Freeway, it's always a safe version of him. We've never seen the raw and uncut true story of what Ross is saying. And that's the things that I wanted to make sure as the director of the film was to not just highlight. Everyone wants to talk about, the first thing they want to talk about, you already know what they want to talk about. It's the drugs and all that. But it's about who he was and his intelligent mind and who he was prior. He didn't know how to read. And I told him this. You didn't know how to read, yet he was the most efficient, smartest businessman that was out there in the streets that can conduct that, who was not affiliated, who wasn't really doing gang work like that, and just wanted to be a great businessman and do things that were really good. And people, I think, have the misconception of him as well, for the people who don't know him, about how kind of genuine of a person he is and how much love there is in his heart and what he's doing, especially now.
Is there a name for the movie?
Not yet. We just getting started.
Okay.
And the name I don't really care what we name it. I don't care, because one of the things that what I was trying to tell you earlier is that what I looked at now, right? I had this epiphany that everything I've been doing has been for the movie. I only was selling, in the weed business because I knew that me getting in the weed business would make the movie bigger. More people talking, interviews, make people talk. Going out selling my book, make people talk, making friends for people who are now want to know more about the movie. They want to see the visual version of what the book talked about, what I've been talking about on Vlad. They're going to want to see somebody put that together. They want to see a brilliant mind, directed, and it was my job, Reggie's job. Reggie did it, but, for me, I got to have to write everything with this movie, because this movie really, I feel that this movie is going to be sacred to really the whole United States. Blacks are going to take it to another level, because they already do. Like, man, I'd have people come up and tell me stuff you wouldn't even believe, man. They say to me in airports and on the streets, just like totally melt me, man. Like, I just lose all control, because one kid came up to me one day, man, I think I was in Houston airport. He said, man, I love you, Rick. You make smart look good. And I was like, what? So you saying that some of our people don't want to be smart because it don't look good? It's not cool. And I mean, just so much, man, that I can't even thank you enough for allowing me to come on your shows. It's just been crazy, because the word gets out. Just like right now, when they see me and Mike together, they're gonna know my movie is real. I've been talking about this movie for 35 years. So Some people look at me like I'm crazy, it's never gonna happen.
Right.
They tell me like, why they do Frank Lucas story first? Why they do this movie? Why they doing Big Meech and not your story? But to me, I could have gave it to some quack, who never touched South Central LA, never saw it, and let him do it, and he probably would have, did whatever, probably would have had us shooting at each other, and like I see this Snowfall stuff. I started watching Snowfall finally.
Well, you're watching Snowfall now.
I'm watching Snowfall. Thanks to Dave Mays, the guy who used to own the Source magazine.
Yeah, I know Dave.
Dave talked me into it, and we did a show called After the Snow, so I have to go on in and bear through Snowfall. Like, oh my goodness.
They're about to do the final season, actually. Season 6 is
filming
right now.
Good. It's about time. The last season was horrible. It'd be hard for me to sit there and watch sometimes. Yeah. It's so much bullshit. They had a lion in South Central LA. Or a tiger, one of them.
Yeah, but you telling me.
In South Central LA, and this guy's feeding the lion human beings. And like, oh my goodness, come on, man. This is really history that they fucking with. This is not just like you just roll the TV. Because people know that there's some real in that show. Everybody know that there's some real in that show. So when you fucking with history, man, this is really our history. This would be like taking slavery and playing with slavery. That's how delicate this story really is. You know, and for somebody to take it and butcher it up and you know, and did what John did, or what allowed them to do. Either way, I don't care who did it, but it happened. I don't think that they should be playing with our history like that, you know.
Especially when the person's still alive.
Exactly.
That's the issue.
Who's the dream actor that'll play Freeway Ricky Ross?
Let me tell you this, we had the same person.
Go ahead.
I don't know, you know, they say we shouldn't say who we want.
We should. I know that's one thing they told us, like, yo, don't say nothing yet.
Yeah, they don't really want us to talk about who the actor is because it makes it harder for negotiation.
Right.
If they know I want him and he want him, they gonna be like, you in high demand, buddy.
Well, but it also might put the word out and get the actual actor interested in it. See, double-edged sword here. You know,
So you want to play with the sword?
might
Let's
actually
play
cut in
with
your
it.
favor.
I'll play with it. You say what you say earlier. Don't be safe.
Don't be safe.
That's what he just said. Don't be safe.
So who do you want to play?
Childish Gambino.
Huh? Okay, Childish Gambino. I mean, a hell of an actor.
Hell of an actor.
Hell of a creative mind as well. He may want to co-direct, but you know.
He's a very creative. Yeah, he's in that creative space too. You know,
Which might not be a bad thing.
No, you know, I'm always down to collaborate. You know, as a director, I think there's always room to. I mean, it's a whole collaboration job, whether you're working with actors or not. Every actor, is somewhat to me, is a director in the sense of understanding a scene and getting things done. But I think he would be brilliant for it. He was the first name that kind of came up over dinner when we had it, and like you said, man, he's just a genius in what he does. You know. And we looked at a few photos and it was kind of jarring, right? When we saw it, it was like, yo, this is Rick, it's crazy. You know?
Well, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know, we hoping to be shooting around January, February next year.
Oh,
hoping.
Right around the corner.
Hoping.
Yeah, it's been moving pretty fast, you know? So,
okay.
You know, we're hoping it moves fast. But I was telling him what was crazy was that the fact that I'm from Nicaragua.
Okay.
So like when I got the script and just knowing the story in the background, it's like
the Iran-Contra kind of connection, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, my great grandpa was president of Nicaragua, so it's like
okay.
there's a lot of like, you know, I know it's going to have a lot of there's going to be a lot of conversations when it comes out because of like, you know, the work I do and my country really supports me, so I know it's going to be a great conversational piece once they find out.
It will.
I'm telling a little bit of Nicaragua's history as well, you know, so it's going to be interesting.
That's what it is. Freeway Ricky Ross, Mike Ho, Anthony Peterson. Man, appreciate y'all coming in.
Thanks for having.
You know what I'm saying? Wish you all the best. All three of y'all.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
That's what it is, man. Until next time. Peace.
Peace.